Gilmore.
Hey, everyone, we're about to get started. If we can find our seats, silence our cell phones as I am doing, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Wednesday, the 10th day of January in the year 2024. This is a regular meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had it scheduled 6 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 6:02 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Ridley is not here yet. Councilperson Prinzeri. Let's just make sure our mics are on. Councilperson Baggiano.
Yeah.
Councilperson Saleh is not here yet. Councilperson Solomon.
Here.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Present.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Here.
And Council President Waterman. We have 7 council members in attendance at 6:02 p.m. Can we kindly rise for a moment of silence, please?
Can I say something before we start?
We just read this. Thank you very much. On behalf of Council President Waterman, in accordance with New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall, the annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2024, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, November 30th, 2023. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, January 5th, 2024, at 2:43 p.m. to the mayor, municipal council, business administrator, corporation council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Councilperson Baggiano, you wanted to address the council and the public?
I've been receiving call after call, and something has to be done about the ice skating ring in Persian Field. I'm tired of talking about it. Today, another day, I received several calls. I promised the people I would bring it up before the entire council and let them know that something has to be done. All right. One of the answers is maybe we get the Devils. I don't know why we allowed it to go into disrepair like it did. Michael Young and I were up there 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and nothing has changed. But something has to be done because people are really concerned and it's a big issue.
Okay. All right, so on to our regularly scheduling programming. I see Councilperson Ridley coming in, and I'll mark her present at 6:05 p.m. So we now have 8 council members present at 6:05. Okay, council members. Item 3.1, our first reading ordinance is Ordinance 24-001. Just want to confirm with the Assistant Business Administrator that this is being withdrawn. Assistant BA. Item 3.1 is being withdrawn, correct? Thank you. So we have no first reading ordinances, and we're going to go right to our second reading ordinances. First, second reading ordinances, item 4.1, City Ordinance 23-018 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 160 fees and charges, Section 1 fee schedule established, subsection 10, Chapter 254 property maintenance establishing a fee for lead-based hazard inspection of residential units pursuant to Pamphlet Law 2021 C.182 and amending Chapter 254 property maintenance to include registration of properties for compliance under the Lead Hazard Control Assistance Act. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-018 was made by Councilperson Rivera. May I have a second? Second by Councilperson Prinzary. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-018, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajano. Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
I had to look, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Councilperson
Aye.
Gilmore. Whoa, you guys are really like. Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson Saleh absent. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-018, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano. Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-018 is adopted 8-0 with Councilperson Saleh absent. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.2, City Ordinance 23-119. It's an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, amending Section 332-5, One-Way Streets, and Section 332-9, Stop Intersections to convert Bramhall Avenue between Van Horn Street and Pacific Avenue into a one-way street in the westbound direction and convert Bramhall Avenue and Woodwood Street into an all-way stop intersection. As discussed at the caucus, Councilperson Ridley, we discussed that you wanted to table the ordinance prior to conducting a public hearing. Is that correct?
Correct. Motion to table prior to public hearing.
I have a motion to table prior to the
Second.
conducting a public hearing made by Councilperson Ridley on City Ordinance 23-119. May I have a second? Second by Councilperson Prinzary. On the motion to table City Ordinance 23-119 prior to conducting a public hearing, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
And I will mark you present at 6:08 PM. So we have all 9 council members present. Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 9-0. I almost said for final consideration. Okay. So let me just mark Councilperson Saleh present at 6:08. So we have all 9 council members present. And Councilperson Saleh, would you like to cast your vote on ordinance, 23-018?
Aye.
Thank you. So now City Ordinance 23-018 is adopted unanimously 9-0. Okay, on to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.3, City Ordinance 23-126 is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 160, Fees and Charges, Chapter 160, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Rights of Way, Article 1, General Provisions, Duties of Property Owners and Occupants, Article 2, Closure of the public right-of-way, Article 3, excavations within the public right-of-way, and Chapter 345 zoning, Article 4, fees, deposits, and inspections. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hello, this is Scott Hansen.
Scott Hansen?
Yep.
Okay, sir.
This is for the bike fee, right? For driving in a bike lane. Also indicate.
Yeah, that the fee for parking in the bike lane is in this ordinance.
Thank you. I've been a member or a resident of Jersey City for the past 6 years. I bike every day, and I really appreciate the added infrastructure for bike lanes. That being said, I've seen drivers take advantage of this as extra parking spots or waiting zones. I believe it's dangerous when cyclists have to mix with traffic, and any additional chance for cars and traffic, cyclists or pedestrians to intermingle is dangerous. And I know Jersey City has a Vision Zero vision for no traffic fatalities. So I believe that this ordinance would go a long way to preventing people from abusing bike lanes and interfering with the right of way. So thank you.
Thank you. This is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-126. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hey there, Alex Gillette. I would also like to support, voice support for the ordinance incurring fees for parking in the bike lane. For driving in the bike lane, it's a huge issue here. I would expand that. Put up bollards on every shoulder so that folks aren't getting run over. Posted a picture 2 weeks ago of a Mini Cooper approaching the park in the bike lane behind a bicyclist. So that should give you a pretty good indication of just how much disregard folks behind the wheel have for the rules of the road. I would also expand this. I would, in order to improve enforcement, I would lean on JCPD to meet or exceed quotas for issuing citations for folks parked in the bike lane. I think, going even a step further and improving this would be for the City Council uniting to call upon the State Senate to review the use of red light cameras and speed cameras as well, especially in places like Grand Street, where a young boy was run over, hit and run just a few days ago. As somebody that's been a resident for 5 years, as somebody that, still somewhat plans to raise a family here in Jersey City in the next few years, I'm scared to death every time my wife takes our dog to the park, has to cross Grand Street. I think this ordinance would be a good step in the right direction, but it's just a small step. I think we need to think bigger like we do in Jersey City and use our influence and come together and call upon the folks in Trenton to adopt this statewide. And I believe that we also need to, like I said, bring back the use and enforcement via speed and traffic automation devices like red light cameras. We can't, let some fudged, pardon my language, study done by some scummy state senator in Red Bank a few years ago just completely throw all that work away. There are numerous studies by Transportation Safety Bureau, National Highway Safety Administration that show that these measures work. They reduce the chances of collisions and, hopefully helps to avoid folks getting run over in our crosswalks. Thank you.
Thank you. This is still a public hearing. Come on up. If you can just state your name for the record.
My name is Jordan Leahy.
Jordan.
Jordan Leahy, L-E-A-H-Y.
Leahy. Thank you, sir.
I've been a resident of Jersey City for the past 8 years and a homeowner for the past 2.5 years. I'd like to first thank you guys for putting in the bike infrastructure that you've done over the couple of years. As a homeowner and, this bike infrastructure that you guys have put in and the protected lanes makes Jersey City a family livable city. I feel that I want this to be my forever home. Unlike some people who move here, start a family and leave, I don't see that. I want to stay here. There's a lot of great things. Both my wife and I have pedal assist e-cargo bikes. In the past year, I put on over 3,000 miles alone. So these good bike lanes that you have right now allow me to take Don to school every day from Exchange Place all the way to Hamilton Park and back. The challenge is today I encountered three cars in the bike lane. And I think we all know that it's pretty common sense risk that going in and out of traffic can lead to something that's not very good. I believe it is in the interest of the city to ensure families who choose to have, oh, it goes here, to choose to have a car-free lifestyle can have the confidence that they can explore all the great things Jersey City has. And they know that in the future, that right is going to be protected. Okay, done. So again, given I believe that this is a common sense law, and given the needs, the cities need to also offset such tax increases that have frustrated some residents, again, making the city livable and safe makes us feel a little bit better about the taxes we pay. I also summarize that much of the revenue generated from such a fee would probably come from corporations that do not have any presence in the city, such as shipping companies, FedEx. As I also believe that they probably have already baked into their business model this cost, such as New York. And as you know, you had the idle emissions fee in New York City a long time ago. So you want to speak, Don?
Sure.
Okay, can you tell them cars should not park in bike lanes? To sum it up, it's a common sense law. I think you guys have done a very good job making the city livable. It makes me and my family safe, and we look forward to a future here. And this is just the next step of, making it more safe for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, all done. Say bye-bye.
Good job. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Adorable.
Thank you all.
You're welcome. Okay, this is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-126, and I see our next speaker approaching. If you can just state your name for the record.
Deirdre Newman.
Deirdre Noonan?
Yeah.
Thank you, Deirdre.
Should I start speaking?
Yes, let me restart that.
Okay, I am a 10-year resident of Jersey City. I bike every day, pretty much, all seasons, and have, my whole life. And I have had several crashes, a couple of them with motor vehicles that were doing something illegal. And I would like to say that pretty much every time I consider getting on my bike, I think, am I going to live to get home again, honestly? But I get over it. And once I'm on my bike, I feel very safe. Then the safety of a protected bike lane, whether it's by parking protection or Jersey barriers, ends, and you find people in the bike lane, and you can choose between going out in traffic or having to stop and wait. And I don't understand why cyclist convenience is, the automobile operators' convenience is prioritized. And I would like somebody to tell me why there isn't a law, why there's any reason why there shouldn't be a law to keep motor vehicles out of bike lanes and make it safer for all users. that belong in a bike lane. It should be as safe as a pedestrian feels safe on a sidewalk. That's how people in bike lanes should feel. I also feel like a lot of people aren't aware of bike lanes being just for being on a bike. And a lot of the bike lanes aren't that clear and people are just, unaware. Possibly. I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I feel like some kind of public awareness campaign or signage or whatever it takes to make people understand that, first of all, they shouldn't be in the bike lane. And second of all, they might get a fine, which they would be unhappy to pay. I guess that's pretty much, let me just look. Oh, yeah. And another thing is when you do have to go around somebody parked in the bike lane, you need to also allow space to not be doored by the person who's parked in the bike lane, which means you have to be even farther out in traffic. And generally speaking, we're not given much leeway to get around cars in a safe way. So yes, for children, all users, people who work on bikes, I strongly encourage the council to vote for this fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is still a public hearing. And if you can just state your name for the record.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Carol Harris, and I am a lifelong resident of Jersey City, and I am a pedestrian. And I do believe that we need to enforce traffic regulations, but it needs to be in both directions. Many times when I am walking throughout Jersey City, I'm encountered with bicycles on the sidewalk. I'm also I have seen bicyclists not follow the traffic signs and rules. So it is important that the bike lanes be free of vehicles, but it is also important for people who are cycling to follow the rules of the law of the road and also be aware of the rights of pedestrians. When I get off of the bus in Journal Square, I have to peek out to see if the bike lane is empty because I could easily step out in front of a bicycle. And at my age, if I get hit by a bike, I'm not going to heal too well. So we need to be aware of the importance of protecting all of our citizens, protecting the rights of people who ride bicycles and protecting the rights of us who are walking in the city, because not everyone follows the rules of the law. You see people on e-bikes on sidewalks, regular bikes on sidewalks, and it should not be. So laws need to be put in place and laws need to be enforced, or why are we doing laws? Thank you.
Thank you.
This is still a public hearing. Our next speaker.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel Morgan. I'm a resident
I
of,
didn't get your first name. I'm sorry.
my name is Emmanuel, Emmanuelle Morgan, Morgen.
Thank you.
I'm a resident at 164 Harrison, and I'm a pedestrian and a cyclist and a driver. I think we're all pedestrians first, and I can relate to the speaker before me, her frustration at speeding e-bikes on sidewalks. But as a cyclist, I can also understand why bikes are on sidewalks if the streets are unsafe. So I'm here to ask the council to please vote yes on the ordinance protecting the bike lanes from moving motor vehicles and parked motor vehicles, and the enforcement of a $175 fee for violations. Just my own personal experience recently, I rode here tonight. Not all of us, have a parking spot downtown. Parking is difficult. People come here in many different ways. They take the bus, they ride bikes, they walk. I happened to ride here and I was pushed out into traffic multiple times by cars parked in the bike lane. I'm asking you to vote yes to prevent this, to reduce occurrences so that I can just get here safely. On Sunday, June 25th, around 2 p.m., I was riding home on my bike with 2 panniers full of groceries on Marin Boulevard. I was riding south back into Jersey City when a car entered the bike lane between Observer Highway and 18th Street. I braked hard, I swerved, and I fell to avoid impact. The driver stopped immediately, but I skidded over the pavement. When I had the chance to pull myself up, I had road rash all over my body, including areas not covered by clothing or covered by clothing. Perhaps I was not thinking clearly, or perhaps the scene was blocking traffic and chaotic. So I made the decision to brush myself off, repack my groceries, and leave the scene. I managed to ride one-handed because I had I had an injury, to the urgent care center where I was treated, including an x-ray. Research indicates that the increasing size and height of contemporary automobiles significantly reduce sight lines. I don't know whether or not that was a factor, but I do know that having a $175 bike lane, parked in the bike lane fee might reduce occurrences and keep people from, and cause people to think twice before entering the bike lane to get around traffic, which was the reason that this driver gave me for entering the bike lane at that time. A child in the street, in the bike lane, in a driveway, or in a parking lot may have been visible to a driver in a 1990s sedan, but in a 2024 SUV,
Thank you.
those sight lines are significantly compromised.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Hello, everybody. I want to say thank y'all for listening to me. My name is Jermaine Woodard.
Jermaine, if you can just bring the mic up to you. And
You hear me now?
Yeah.
My name is Jermaine Woodard Sr. I believe that you should pass the ordinance about parking in the bike lanes and driving in the bike lanes. Because in 2015, my son, Jermaine Woodard Jr., was struck and killed in a bike lane on Boswick by 2 brothers speeding down the block. Speeding down the block. We never got no justice for the tragedy. That's why I believe that y'all need to make laws on people driving in the bike lane, parking in the bike lane, because this can happen to another child, another pedestrian in the bike lane. During that time, the brothers argued on Facebook about this situation. And it was a shame that Jersey City couldn't make something happen with the case. It went 3.5 years for us going back and forth with the case, and the case got dismissed when they had evidence that my son was in the bike lane. Pictures, the brothers talking about it. I know a fine won't bring my son back, but like other people said, that'll open up people's eyes about driving in the bike lane, parking in the bike lane, because you might hit someone in the bike, might kill someone in the bike lane. It could be one of y'all family members that could be next in this bike lane. I believe that you should pass this law because myself, my family hurt because a child should have been safe in the bike lane. That's what we made these bike lanes for the pedestrians to be safe in. He shouldn't have never been hit in the bike lane. I think the law should be passed that anyone parked in the bike lane or driving in the bike lane should be fined, and it should be a heavy fine than what $175 being out here. But I want to say thank you for everyone listening to me. I hope this bill get passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Good evening, Ayla Shermer. I first want to start by thanking Jermaine for those extremely important and heartfelt comments. I'm the president of Bike JC and board member of Hudson County Complete Streets. These organizations work to make our city and county streets safe for all travel modes. On behalf of both of these organizations, I want to once again voice full support for this ordinance establishing a fine for driving or parking in a bike lane. As I said when I stood before you last month, anyone like me who regularly travels by bicycle will tell you that it is nearly impossible to complete a ride around Jersey City without encountering multiple hazards in the bike lanes. I personally have an entire album on my phone here full of countless photos I've snapped of vehicles obstructing bike lanes, and I know I'm not alone in this. I've tried time and time again to report these safety infractions via methods like the city's WhatsApp. Unfortunately, the responses I've received have repeatedly been along the lines of, quote, "We were able to confirm the issue you reported, but this issue is not illegal under city, state, or federal laws." And so I think it's pretty clear that we must change the laws on the books. I thank the city's infrastructure and transportation planning departments for putting forth this critical measure designed to incentivize positive behavior change and promote a culture of safety. I think we all know that if a driver knowingly obstructs a vehicular travel lane, they'll face numerous consequences, including a hefty fine. Obstructing a bike lane, which is also a travel lane, should be treated no differently. Drivers will often tell us that they'll just be there for a minute for X, Y, or Z reason. Perhaps they're grabbing a coffee or waiting to pick someone up. But the reality is that it takes just one split second to put cyclists at grave risk due to a driver choosing their own convenience. Cars parked in bike lanes for any amount of time are enormous safety hazards that force cyclists into high-speed traffic in places where drivers are not expecting them. We currently dedicate only a tiny portion of Jersey City street space to cycling and other micromobility modes, so it's imperative that space is not compromised. First and foremost, we must continue to engineer a citywide network of high-quality protected bike lanes that are physically separated from cars. But until that exists, regular enforcement remains necessary to keep bike lanes clear. I urge you all to pass this ordinance tonight, which is designed to protect our most vulnerable road users and bring us one step closer to our city's Vision Zero goal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Good evening, Jimmy Lee, President of Safe Streets JC. I didn't prepare a lot of remarks today for this ordinance because it just seems to make sense, right? Like, don't we already have a law for not being able to drive in bike lanes? It's surprising, right? But this is a really important law. And in fact, New Jersey does not have a law specifically prohibiting parking or driving motor vehicles in the bike lane. California has one, Massachusetts has one, New York City specifically prohibits this, and we need this here in Jersey City as well. Why have the bike lanes if we're going to just let motor vehicles drive all over them or park in them? I just also want to say that in terms of Vision Zero, we got a preview of how good Jersey City can be in 2022 with 0 traffic deaths on city streets. Last year, unfortunately, there were 5 preventable traffic deaths on our city streets. And so this law would be enforcement, obviously, right? We need to deter bad behavior in our bike lanes, provide safe ways for cyclists to travel, and help the people that are choosing alternative modes that are less deadly to others around them to be able to do so safely, as well as improve the congestion in our city. The bikes take much less space on our city streets, and if we deter these families, these residents of the city from feeling safe in our bike lanes, they will only add to the congestion on our streets. I want to thank and the other thing I just want to say real briefly is while we want enforcement of safe speeds, of yielding to pedestrians, of not parking in the bike lanes, I do want to say that enforcement is not an excuse to not continue to improve our infrastructure. The bike lane improvements recently have been tremendous and have made our road safer for all road users. And I just want to thank Councilman Solomon for all the improvements in 2023, Columbus Drive, Newark Ave. I personally actually had a crash on Newark Ave where I landed in the bike lane. The bike was in the roadway, and I believe that I was not, I wasn't further injured and run over by a car because of that protected bike lane. So let's continue that work. I want also to thank Councilperson Prince Airy for the new bike lanes on Duncan Ave. I think those are tremendous. They help people cross the street. Let's continue to support this throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Hello, my name is Cameron Orr from Ward F. I want to thank the council for bringing this legislation forward. It's very important to, keep just like everyone's been saying, just adding my voice to the importance of this measure to keep people safe, and I hope that we can continue to do more to get more bike lanes, protected bike lanes. More measures to get more cars off the road and make it easier for people to have other ways of getting around the city, because it's, obviously it's very important for our environment, as well. Asthma rates are really high around high traffic ways, and these are all important issues for people of Jersey City. So I hope that you'll vote yes. Thank you for bringing it forward, and hope we can continue to get more transportation options in the city, like buses and stuff like that. So more buses and more reliable buses. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Hey guys, Happy New Year's. My name is Tina. I'm in Ward F. I'm so sorry exactly what happened. And guys, right, I definitely agree. We definitely need some rules. We do have, I'm one of them person might be going past the bike lane and don't see them. I think we need more signs letting us know that where's the bike lane. I think we need more education in our community about the bike lane, because I know I've been here for a minute. I'm from Alabama and I'm used to walking in a dirt road. But I know for us now coming along, we are having a lot of bikes in the community. We are seeing a lot of people, they use that for their jobs because they can't get their license. So I think we need to more educate more in our community about it, slowing down, watch out for the bikes, do some commercial, do something so we can realize that this is the new generation, that the bikes are with the cars, and we have to pay attention of the people that's walking and looking both ways. So I think that's what we need to educate our community a little bit more at slowing down, and new changes is coming along in our community. And that's exactly the same thing that happened for Kim for Jump for Jerry. So to see that kids are getting hurt from this, we definitely need to put more education out there for our community. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
That was so lovely, Tina. Thank you so much. My name is Edward Perkins, and I'm in Ward A. And I love riding my bike, especially during spring, summer, and fall. And Lincoln Park here is my favorite park to ride to. So I get to ride across, I guess, half of the city or whatever, from one ward to the next across. And there are many places where, even as an adult, it's unsafe for me to ride. So definitely bike lanes and bike safety. I just see that, though, this is a $175 fee for parking in bike lanes. So I'm encouraged, I guess, if we're looking at, like, how to prosecute it, how to keep it safe, but we should be looking at other things like our infrastructure across the city, right? And also, too, like, if you don't have any bright ideas or if you're uneducated about it, I would like to see you all in the public asking us, engaging with us about how we feel about bike lanes and bike infrastructure and stuff. That would help to, like, to see more of a presence of you all, you know, like asking us about how we feel about everything that affects us, bike lanes included. Thank you.
Thank you.
You. Okay, our next speaker,
My name is Karin Van Oppen.
Karen, and your last name?
Karin Vanoppen.
Okay.
I would say where I'm from, but I am from here. So let's forget where I used to ride my bike. I would like to ride my bike right here in safety. And I would like to also be able to tell my friends, why don't you ride a bike? And for them to be able to say, oh yeah, that's a good idea, instead of what I hear now, oh, I'm afraid to. A friend of mine told me the other day, I would like to go to Target, but it takes forever to get there. I'm like, why don't you go by bike? You'd probably be there in 10 minutes. She's like, I don't know. And that is even with the extra infrastructure we have now. So I appreciate what's been done already. I feel we can do more. And for sure, having cars parked in the bike lane and then people having to make a split decision on what they're going to do. They're going to choose the to go where the pedestrians are because that seems like the safer route. And then you have the issues like the lady that was telling us earlier, you know, that there's bikes where pedestrians should be or might be get in trouble with somebody not making the right decision in a split second. And then when I hear about Jermaine Jr., these people should be thinking about right now, like career, college, and they're sitting here now talking about the fact that, you know, what had happened and to please not let it happen to other people. And it's the same for the pedestrians. There was this young kid who got run over, hit and run. People don't even talk about it too much because he didn't die. Just I think his leg was broken. That by itself is baffling. So we can do a lot more. We're already doing more, and I appreciate it. I hope you say yes to this. Keep the 175. If it is less than or more than double parking, I suggest to up double parking. It seems better than taking the fee down because the only thing that works is for people to be scared and say, oh, it's not worth it for the coffee to hop in and out. Thank you for listening.
This is still a public hearing.
Greetings, Council President. I have a duty to come up here and speak today on public safety and traffic safety. I unfortunately found out this morning that I lost 2 family members to traffic accidents. So I didn't think this issue was going to be near and dear to my heart, but I have to add it to the list of the many things that I'm very passionate about. I just want to ask all of you guys, I understand having laws on the books and having expensive fees to try to scare people away and try to encourage them to do the right thing so they don't get a $175 fine. But my question is, who's going to be there watching? Who's going to be there handing out tickets? Because we don't have enough enforcement. We don't have enough police officers. So I'd like each of you to challenge Director Shea and his whole team to figure out how to solve this problem, because the response is always, we don't have enough enforcement. We don't have enough enforcement. Whenever I call public safety, whenever I send emails to public safety, the response is, we can put somebody there temporarily, but we need somebody there all the time. And we really need to prioritize this. I know last year was the year of open space. Can this year be the year of enforcement? Because that's the only way people are going to stop. When you try to cross Grand Street from Jersey Avenue, it's crazy. People don't know when to go. When they think the cars are not coming, then there's a bike coming. and vice versa. It's scary. And we're trying to keep up this facade that we're growing and we're going to be like New York, but we're putting the cart before the horse, and we need to make sure we have enforcers before we put all these new laws on the books, because it's just, that's all. I don't want to see any more kids get run over. That's broke my heart. And I wanted to be able to say, I don't even know what that feels like, but unfortunately, I do now, to have somebody lost from a traffic accident. So I'm going to make this my mission. So you'll be hearing from me more often about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for your loss, Erica.
This is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-126. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-126 was made by Councilperson Saleh. May I have a second? Second by Council President Waterman. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-126, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 9-0 to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-126. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-126, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Baggiano.
Yeah, I just want to say something. I get millions of complaints about bicycles riding down the wrong way, delivery bikes running red lights. There has to be some control, not only over the motor vehicles, but over all the bicycles. They should be registered. Citations should be given for bikers that run red lights. I see this constantly. In fact, last week when I left City Hall, I almost hit one on the corner here. Guy shot right through the stop sign. You got to take away, a lot of people in the city are complaining. They put the bike lanes in, they take away traffic. I mean, they cause traffic congestion and they take away parking. So there has to be more to this. And the other thing is, as some people brought up, we don't have any enforcement by this police department. And it's a shame because we don't have a traffic division. We don't have a motorcycle division. I'll say yes to the ordinance, but this has to be followed up on. And the bikers have to start obeying the laws and stop running red lights, stop driving down the wrong way down one-way streets, because I hear the complaints from the residents in Ward C all the time.
You, Councilperson Saleh.
Just want to thank everyone that came up and spoke. We need to have protected bike lanes, and in order for them to be effective and for people to use them, cars have to stop blocking the protected bike lanes, or else they're not usable. And I agree with a lot of what is said here, that enforcement is a very big issue in this city, and that the city is stretched thin when it comes to that. I did want to ask the law department if we can look into alternative ways of enforcement whereby we use cameras such as security bollards with, solar powered security bollards with like a camera attached, and you'd automatically mail a ticket to someone that is parked there. Or if we could have user submitted pictures sent through C-Click Fix. I know that red light cameras were dismantled by the state, but is there a difference between a parking violation versus a moving violation? And can we look into implementing this as some other municipalities have done, not in New Jersey, but elsewhere?
Sure, Councilman, we can bring together all the parties that would be important in it, municipal court, police department, parking division, everything like that. There is a difference between a parking fine and a moving violation. There are some moving violations that might deal with parking or driving in the bike lanes as well, that we can talk to the municipal court about. But we can bring everybody together and see what we can and can't do.
Okay, and with that, I wanted to vote aye.
Okay. Councilperson Solomon.
Sure, I concur with my colleagues' call for greater enforcement, both the old motorcycle unit and creative methods that Councilman Saleh brought up, and agree with the proposal that's before us, that we need to ensure safe methods of travel. And one of the key ways of doing that is preventing vehicles from being stopped in the bike lanes, which really make it unsafe and keep bicyclists off the roads, either because they're afraid or moving onto the sidewalks. So I will vote aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
This right here is, this requires us to really take a deep look just at our infrastructure as we are a growing city. Because the number one thing is education. How do we educate the people that's driving, the people that's walking, the people that's riding bikes, as to these are shared roadways. You don't own the roadway because you in a car or because you in a bike. You have to adhere to the rules and regulation. And I really think we do everybody a disservice when we just install bike lanes without completely involving as many people from the community as possible, because sometimes you'll just wake up in a bike lane and just be there. So part of that is people not being informed of the new bike lane. Then they're not even informed of the rules. It is extremely important that we protect everybody, pedestrians, bikers, everybody. And if we can't even get someone to get a speeding ticket for running a red light, who gonna give somebody in a bike lane that's double park a ticket? We really need to stop kidding ourselves with just pushing stuff that look good and sound good without no real enforcement behind it. You know what would really work, would stop people from parking in bike lanes? If they get the ticket. We can pass it tonight, and if you go home, you'll see somebody parked in a bike lane. Good luck getting them a ticket. Right? So I've learned, right, that you have to have enforcement. Let me tell you what they did on 440. Every morning, you ride on that shoulder by the new, what's that coffee place? Starbucks. You ride on that shoulder by the Starbucks, you're gonna buy yourself a pair of sirens. They've done it so consistently and so much that when I ride by on weekends, people are obeying the law because they know that they're out there. Enforcement is a huge deal. We want everybody to be safe. But I'm not in the business of playing with people and just signing on to things just for the sake of signing on to things because it looked good. At what point are we going to get for real about business and enforcing the laws that's on the books? Well, I don't think we have a traffic division right now that hand out citations. Nope. We don't have none. So we having these meetings about talking about bike infrastructure. Bring up enforcement. Ask how it's going to be enforced. Ask these questions. With that, I vote aye. I just really hope that we can just recognize that we are a growing city. I don't care what the census say. We're in a proximity of 300,000 people. We are there. So we need to plan as such. It's no longer mom and pop Jersey City of the 90s. It's no longer than that. It's no longer that. We have the most people per square mile in the state. That's the reality. So we need enforcement. They can put the horses, the motorcycles, cameras, I don't care what it is. We need some form of enforcement. And I guarantee you, when them people start getting them tickets, the word's gonna spread fast. And people gonna start to behave as they should.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
So, we had a lot of council people here, hit a lot of main topics. Protecting everyone is key here. And we need to really understand that. So I live not too far from Marin Boulevard, right? that whole area there from Christopher Columbus all the way down to 6th Street got a road diet, right? And I'm actually was happy that they did that protecting the bike lanes. However, listen, this is where it bothers me at times, because yes, the people park in them corners, and it frustrates me because, you know, it's you're really actually impeding on the safety of those bicyclists. I see them. I see the bicyclists going around the cars. I see them daily, almost getting not hit, but destroyed by cars. Someone is going to get seriously hurt there. But I think that crucial street there has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It is a crucial road for 9 fire trucks. And it is the main road. If a person gets sick in any of those high rises, in any of the senior buildings south of that, if someone gets hurt, the traffic that gets formed in that gap from Christopher Columbus to 6th Street, someone is going to die because the firefighters, the ambulance can't get to where their destination is because of the traffic there. And it's been like that ever since the road diet, right? I am 100% for this ordinance, but yes, like Councilman Gilmore said, fines should be given out to everybody. Bicyclists, cars, everybody should get a fine. So motor vehicles, obviously, you know, if we pass this ordinance, you know, yes, they're going to get their tickets, their summons, but from the bike community, there's got to be some sort of an education. Let the bicyclists know, stop at the red light, stop at the stop sign, don't go the wrong way. There's hundreds of bikes with all these businesses that get these Uber Eats. These guys are on sidewalks. On my block last summer, a 6-year-old girl got ran over by an e-bike with her father holding her hand. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. We have 24 motorcycles hidden away in some area in Jersey City because we don't have a traffic division. We passed the ordinance here for horses and motorcycles, and we have not seen none of them. And we passed this ordinance 4 years ago. This is the time to bring those motorcycles back. 100%. Bring the horses back. You think people are going to see a big animal and a cop mounted on it or a motorcycle? You think they're going to park in the corner? No, like they said, if you get a summons, you're not going to do that, you know? But, you know, I want, like I said before, I agree with this ordinance, but we all have to be sympathetic to the seniors, to the people, all these high rises going up. Emergency vehicles are not getting to these people on time. I've actually seen ladder fire trucks, pumper trucks, rescue units going down one way down 2nd Street because the traffic is so bad that they need to get to their emergency ASAP. I really, really want everybody here, pedestrians, bicyclists, and motor vehicle drivers. We need to understand that. It's just not a carte blanche just for bicyclists. We are all in this bowl together, and we just need to come up with a solution. With that, I vote aye.
Council President Waterman.
Aye.
City Ordinance 23-126 is adopted unanimously 9-0. Next, second reading ordinance, item 4.4, City Ordinance 23-127 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 9, Parking for the Disabled of the Jersey City Code, designated a reserved parking space at various locations throughout the city. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Second.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-127 was made by Council President Waterman, seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 9-0 to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-127. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-127, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-127 is adopted unanimously 9-0. On to our last second reading ordinance, item 4.5, City Ordinance 23-128 is an ordinance revising the street names in the Bayfront redevelopment site. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hi, Erica Walker. I just want to take this opportunity while we're talking about new streets for new communities. I would like to challenge the city to be more creative and think outside the box, being that we have a bunch more, I don't know how many acres left in Bayfront to name streets after. But if we could get some good old Jersey City activists from the last 30 years honored or recognized in the new area, or some great Black-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses, or small business owners that have been in Jersey City for, decades. If we could honor some more of our own, as opposed to continuing to use these 100-year-old names, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Erica, reach out to planning, because there is a list of names that they select for people who lived in Jersey City. It's already there. And
Okay,
the
thank you.
person that was selected tonight has to do with lived in Jersey City once, right, Denise?
Correct. The names that are on here, they're all Jersey City people, all Jersey City.
Okay.
I don't want to say legends, but people in the community that have done things through the years, but I'll get you that list.
Yeah, if they can make that a part of the agenda, because these are things that we should be proud of, and it should be mentioned while we have an opportunity to speak to the public, because these are recorded, go on YouTube, and it's nice to hear those stories. Thank you.
And you know what, before you come down, just not on you, Erica, just so I can, be on the record that this, Jermaine, your kid's name should be on one of those streets. Because we saw that picture there of him with his football uniform, and we would never know his heights. So he should be honored by that. So I'm advocating for that.
Okay, this is still a public hearing on the ordinance. Our next speaker.
Good evening again. My name is Edward Perkins, and I was here when this ordinance passed. The place was packed. If I'm correct, this is the 8,000 unit. It's going to be built, 35% affordable housing. It's supposed to be historic for the region, for the nation, everything. And I got up, I came up like I'm here now, and I had something to say just about affordable housing. Mayor Stephen Fuller posted on his Twitter, which I'm actually blocked from. But it's a personal privilege, social media type of thing. So it's all interesting, but about real affordability, true affordability. So I agree with Erica, Let's get some community-based names, some historic names. Let's have it be diverse too, but also too, let's just make sure the Bayfront redevelopment site with its 35% affordable housing like promises are really truly met. Right? Because, my experience is true affordability under your leadership isn't really affordable for me and many of us. Like there are two different realities in this city. Where we stand now in Ward E, people here on average earn like close to $100,000 or more a year. In Ward F and Ward A, the opposite side of town, many of us earn $50,000 or less, $40,000 or less a year. We are living different dynamics from day to day, and affordability is going to be different based off your income. But we need your help. We're being priced out. Every new affordable housing, it's unaffordable for many of us. So you want to make Jersey City more like New York City, and now we have a problem with traffic. New York City has subways. You want to invite everybody in, and then you all want to say, "Oh well, there's lack of enforcement." So whose responsibility is it? Do you have any authority on this body, or is it the head pimp of the whorehouse, the mayor?
Now, Mr. Perkins, this was concerning the name of Bayfront, the streets, that's all. That was.
It's all relative, ma'am. It's all relative. Although we're naming the streets, the Bayfront, the redevelopment site, it should be affordable. I mean, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Name the street, walk all over me, price me out, gentrification. This is important. I decided to take this time to speak, and thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This is still a public hearing. Our next speaker.
Hello, I'm Cameron Orr again from Ward C. I don't know if I misspoke before, from Ward C. So yeah, I just wanted to echo what Mr. Perkins was saying. People talk about,
This is
wanna
with
be
the
proper.
name. Stay on top of on the topic, okay?
Oh, I thought we were on the public hearing portion.
No. This
This is the public hearing on the ordinance.
is the ordinance, that's why. That's what this is. It's about the name.
Okay.
Bayfront.
Naming.
Well, yeah, I guess I'll echo on the Mr. Perkins is saying about the development project. We need full, full affordability, 100% affordability. And we need to make sure that affordability is defined by the incomes that people are actually making in the area.
Cameron, this is just for the names of the streets and the area. Okay, this is still a public hearing on this ordinance. Our next speaker.
I just wanted to say, my name is Tina. I just wanted to feedback, I'm about to say Erica. I believe what she said is what y'all said. If y'all do have a list, that is very good because I actually stay in the Webb building. That's Ms. Webb. She's not here right now. And we definitely need to know who's been doing good in our community. And I think that was good of you, Danny, for saying for Jermaine, for his son. That was good too, of recognizing what going, on, that's his child and what happened and stuff. So I think them are the names that we should come upon of, people who's doing good in the community. And if something happened, even though we shouldn't go off a tragedy, but something happened, we should recognize because Jersey City is getting bigger, as E said, and we should know the history, what go on and how they was able to get here in Jersey City. So thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you, Tina.
This is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-128. If there's any other member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-128 was made by Councilperson Saleh, seconded by Councilperson Baggiano.
Yes.
On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-128, Councilperson Ridley. Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 9-0 to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-128. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-128, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Sure, I just want to say, I want to nominate myself to be put on the list of names, so people can remember me in my suit in the future.
Can I make an amendment? When the Jets win the Super Bowl, we'll do it.
I vote aye.
The Jets haven't seen the Super Bowl since the man touched the moon.
Let's get
Sean,
our
that
Christmas,
was the
Sean.
point. That was the point.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-128 is finally adopted unanimously 9-0. Okay, we are approaching our public speaking portion of the meeting. Is Director Patel still here?
Yeah, she's,
Okay, so the council president would like to bring up Director Patel to address the city council before we move on to our public speaking portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Sean. Hi, Council President. Hello, members of the council. I'm here to provide some information on questions that came up at Monday's caucus. This was an item that was presented by the Finance Department, not by my department, but there were questions about the use of previous grant funding for the paving of MLK Drive, which were brought up by you, Councilman Gilmore.
yes.
And since then, there was an assertion that you had requested more information and hadn't received it. I'm not sure who you spoke to, but I did send an email to you and the council president, which Sean forwarded to the rest of the council with information about the grant. So to summarize, the city applied prior to 2016 through city engineering for money to resurface the entirety of MLK Drive. This was a project that was initiated by city staff based on the poor condition of the pavement on that corridor. The city was awarded a grant through municipal aid in the amount of $900,000 and change, which was below the engineer's estimate for what that project would entail. City staff then went on to apply for additional grant funding and was awarded that grant funding through a highly competitive program called the Local Aid Infrastructure Fund, which is LAIF. The combination of those two grants added up to $1.8 million and change. And the city then bid out the project. It was awarded to the lowest responsible bidder at the time for an amount of $1.4 million. And I just want to state for the record, the entirety of MLK Drive from McAdoo Avenue to Communipaw Avenue was repaved through that grant funding. And the project also included reconstruction of curb ramps at all of those intersections, recasting and resettings, drainage improvements, signage improvements, and signal improvements. And then after that work was completed by city engineering, the city was reimbursed the entirety of the $1.4 million through both grant programs, the final payment of which was received in 2022. And the final payment voucher is one of the attachments that I've sent over in that email update. So that is just a clarification on the work that was done, the money that was received, and the entirety of the project that was completed entirely through grant funding, as well as the money that was received back from the city. So I know there was a question on the amount itself, and that's something that probably Finance Department can answer for you. But I did want to just clarify that the work was completed.
I think, I mean, I've read over some of the documents you sent. It's actually worse than I thought, because according to your assessment, $839 was not slated to be sent back, correct? Because you said we got 1.8 altogether and we used 1.4.
Correct.
But in the resolution, it said that 839 was going back.
Right. So I think,
That's a
President, would
that's
you
a
like me to-
$500,000 mistake.
Right. I just want to say I'm responsible for the work that's done through my department. And so these are all of the backup documents that we have for this project that was done and the payments that were received to us, which I've sent over.
I mean, We have to all be on the same page.
I
Had I not
understand.
raised questions, we just gave away $500,000.
I'm sorry?
Had I not raised questions about this grant, there's almost $500,000 that's unaccounted for. So where's that money? Not directed towards you because you're not in finance, but
Right.
the issue is that there's 500,000 unaccounted for nearly.
I don't think it's 500,000.
It's 470 something.
It's, okay, it's close to $400,000,
Well, 400 for the sake of argument.
which is the amount that we did not end up using. And when that money was left over in that grant, the city then tried to go back to the state and say, we have this amount left over. Can we use it for other purposes since we've already been awarded it? We were denied that request. And so we couldn't use that funds. I understand the question that you're asking about the amount that was reported in that resolution. I understand the administration is going to, I don't know, either withdraw that resolution or take another look at the amounts to see if there's a discrepancy in how they were classified, which can happen. So for example, when we were awarded this grant, we had to bond for a certain amount. And so it's possible that money was classified to a capital account as opposed to a grant account. All of these questions are something that I'm sure people in finance can provide to you. I just think it's important for the council members and the public to know that the work did in fact happen. The grant funding was used for it and the city was reimbursed for the entire amount that the project cost.
I mean, this is going to be tabled, but I still have, outside of that, I still have more questions as it relates to when it was done. What was the exact time frame from start to finish? What was all included in the grant? I'm under the impression that there could have been other things done outside of the pavement of the grant as well.
I understand that, and I've included that information in my summary. So essentially, because LAIF is discretionary funding from the state, it is up to them what we can use the money for, and it's highly competitive. So once we put in a project application saying the grant that we already received for MLK is not enough and we need additional funding, and this is what we're going to use it for, they awarded us the grant for that purpose. When at the end of the project, we said, we estimated it was going to be 1.8 million. We got a low bid and we're required to award it to the low bidder for 1.4 million. Can we now use that extra money for additional costs? And we stretch it out as much as we could. We build design costs for the project to the grant. We build testing to the grant, all of which wasn't originally anticipated, but we maximize it as much as we could. Beyond that, when we tried to cover utility upgrades and other things through the grant, we were denied the request because there's a very specific scope that the state will allow us to use money for, at which point we had to close out the project. So if you would like a more itemized list of the concrete, the asphalt,
The contractor, we need everything.
we have all of that prepared. I've sent you the grant agreements for both grants, which includes all of that information. And, you know, I am available to you, to all of you, to help answer questions. So please use me and reach out to me if you have a question in the future. I was here at caucus. I'll continue to be available and happy to answer any additional questions.
Okay. Reach out.
Thank you.
But you're saying that the project was done on time and under budget?
Yes.
Okay, that's not typical for government, but thank you.
It's not, but we aim for the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Sean.
Hard to believe, I understand.
I don't think I can top that. All right, so on to our public speaking portion of the meeting. I'm going to be calling the number and the first name of the individual. With that being said, please pay close attention to the agenda. First speaker, 5.1 Laverne. I don't see her here tonight. Next speaker, 5.2 Edward.
This is my final opportunity to address you all tonight. The one I signed up for, I didn't anticipate coming up during ordinances, but anyway. It is a happy new year, and that's just not a formality. And I want to see things change around here. I am so grateful to have Councilman Gilmore's leadership And I would, even though you all are individuals, I would like to see all of you follow in his light, like even just a little bit. So for example, he does his community caucus before the caucus. Many of us in Jersey City are uneducated. We have no idea what's going on down here. And it should be on you per ward to educate us, like to spend your time with us. That's what I really want to see here. So I'm going to be down here pushing that more. Like, what are you guys doing to inform the public? Because all of this is first order of business and it's all of our business. You understand what I'm saying? So like every ordinance, every resolution, you should spend time educating the public more, because we all need to be more educated on what's happening down here and empowered to come and speak and to be able to deal with all these issues. Really. And we ended last year on a good note, and we begin this year on a good note with Trenton's passing, our state legislature passing their support for the CCRB finally, and now the advisory board for the pilot programming with mental health crisis intervention funding. Now, I'll have you know that I'm upset about what's happening with Jersey City Together, because they are formal leaders here speaking with many on the council or designated members on the council. And if you say that you are going to entrust us with, we're going to entrust you with the leadership and you're going to include us, then include us. One member body, that's spitting on our face. One person from the community, in a sense, being a liaison, bringing you back information on what our entire community wants. So what you do in response to what I'm saying now is say, Edward, oh, we're going to do a town hall, virtual or in person. You start coming out to our communities to see what mental health, what we think a community board should look like. Really involve us. I've spent my time doing this, because really all my time, but that's really what this is about, community involvement. And we need to see you engaging with us more, so you lead how we want you to lead, a reflection of us, this body. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.3, Gina. Gina here? Not here. Next speaker, 5.4, Cameron.
Hello, I'm Cameron again. So yeah, I wanted to basically echo what Mr. Perkins is saying. I think it's wonderful what Gilmore is doing with having these community caucuses. That's something any of the council members could do. And I think it's a great way for you all to make sure you're actually hearing what people want, and people know can tell you what's going on in the community, as well as learning about what's going on here. And I hope that you'll take that to heart. I wanted to say more on the whole like bicycle lane thing, because like I started saying before, this idea Jersey City, we're becoming a big city like New York City, but New York City has subways. So if you want to become a growing city, you gotta prepare for that. For instance, and I feel pretty sure that when these deals that we make for developers that want people who can pay these high rents, I'm sure those people I would be willing to bet those people are driving a lot of cars. Journal Square has its own parking garage, for example. Anyway, on the earlier we mentioned affordable housing, 35% is not enough. We really need to fight for 100% and fully affordable. And I also hope that soon, that the council will take initiative to start the Right to Counsel program. I hope it's already being looked at to be established ahead of time, because people are being evicted now. And also the city could create its own affordable housing with these, the money that's being collected from the developer fees. The city could create much more affordable housing if it created its own, instead of, paying developers with a lot of profit built in. And also on the mental health crisis program, just having one person from one organization is not engagement. You gotta involve everybody in talking about what that mental health crisis program is going to look like. I want to say again that I hope it's extremely important that we get this council passes a resolution for a ceasefire. The murders are still going on every day. And every day, Israel's becoming bolder and bolder about its fascist statements and genocidal statements, openly saying it wants to remove everyone from Gaza. It's far past time to pass a ceasefire resolution. And we've talked a lot about a lot of the needs that the city has. Remember, $1.4 trillion in our budget federally is going to war, violent policing, deportations. Imagine all the money that could be going to people helping programs. Maybe we could get a resolution to the federal government calling on that.
Thank you.
That's it.
Our next speaker, 5.5, Tina.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say justice for Drew. Me and E was just talking about Drew when we was coming up here. So E was like, thank God they passed the law. And I'm like, yeah. So he was like, what else we gonna be doing for Drew? So I was just letting him know we will always have the memories of Drew. Whatever we do in the community, we will always have him on our page, on our shirts, whatever, because mental health is really in our community in Ward F. I want to thank y'all for fixing our building at the Webb building. But we still need help in our area. Even though we put the homeless out of our building, now they outside in the street sleeping. We have a bus. I don't know if y'all noticed that, but we have a bus that come every morning on Forest and Martin Luther King to drop off the homeless, and then they come back to pick them up again at 7:30. That is the reason why our corners are so packed on Oak and Martin Luther King and Forest. They also stand right in front of that daycare where them kids at. I was also a teacher there and I volunteer in there. They should not be standing around there. I don't know why the bus drop them off. They say they go to that center over there. No, they don't go to their center. They need some other direction of just coming here and dropping them off, because after they leave, our community look a mess in Ward F. I want to talk about the nonprofits. There's so many nonprofits out here in the community as myself. Community treasures do not get no fund, do not get no help for our leaders or for our mayor or whoever's in charge of the budget. I believe in the budget, it should be something in there for nonprofits, and we should come together to help out nonprofit. It's no way that they should still be going into their pockets of helping out. I do a lot for my community, not only for me and my family, but other families. Also at the hospitals, I'm running back and forth for the moms to be for car seats and pamper. I don't judge them, because I was one of the parents that's at the Goodwill trying to get something and I couldn't afford it. So that is the reason why I continue to be out in the community. I wish I would get in our shoes and come out in the community and see exactly what we do. Education and Gilmore was just at my spot today dropping off. He actually see exactly what go on in the community. We definitely need more resource in Ward F. We definitely need more housing. Forget about housing. We need to own our house. We need to own house. We need some classes as helping people to buy a first home, not go through your credit and this and that. We need more resource of doing it. It's no way that people should be having a hard time living in Jersey City and Ward F, because everyone know everyone, and we should be able to come together and help each other. And I would love to sit down with all of y'all to just talk about our community. Maybe you don't be in our community in Ward F and see exactly what goes on, but I really would need to talk to all of y'all, and just for y'all to see exactly what go on so we can change it this year. I don't want to have to keep coming here on Wednesday. I want to stay in my community and continue to work in my community. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.6, Diego. Diego here? No. Next speaker, 5.7, Daniel.
Happy New Year to all the council members. Thank you again for voting down the ordinance for Wayne Street. And I just wanted to come up here and ask if there was just any update from the traffic and engineering on that ordinance, Mr. Sullivan.
Just briefly, They did confirm that the signs placed on the north side of the street were improperly done, and so there's been a work order done to remove them. And they're in the process of reviewing the proposals from members of the community, Mr. Dabari, and they're supposed to get back to us in the next week or two based on their review.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Let me know.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker, 5.8, Carrie. Carrie Broder? No? Next speaker, Carlos, 5.9. Is Carlos here? No? Next, 5.10, William. William's not here. 5.11, Sam. Not here. Next speaker, 5.12, Bayarjagal. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct. No? Next, 5.13, Natasha. Thank you. 5.14, Dante. Nope. 5.15, Zari. And 5.16, Philip. Thank you, sir.
Council President Wadner, members of the City Council, and Philip Carrington, in your hands are an exhibit. The exhibit shows, according to the request of the Department of Community Affairs, you must have two forms of egress. It is clear as daylight. I had an inspector came, the inspector says, yes, it is there. No, it is there. We went to court. The inspector, seasoned inspector, swear that it is there. Yes, no, it is not there. I challenged that in court. The law department swear that no, it does not exist. And that is Jim Lambiaca. That was followed also by Lev McBeeman. It was also followed by Philip Edelman. Three lawyers either lied on the oath or operating in bad faith. The judge, Christine Varnett, upheld the lie, saying it does not exist. If you doubt the picture, anyone can ask Council President Wadman where my building is. You can come and see for yourself that it does exist. We went to the appellate court. They lied and still keep saying it does not exist. I'm not asking you to answer me, but look at that picture and ask them how on earth they can swear that it does not exist. It cannot be a yes and a no answer to a simple question. That's elementary. It's either yes or it is no. And they're swearing no. So I'm challenging this matter in the Supreme Court. I mean, that's how bad things really are. Anyone who understands how to look at the e-court, you can go into e-court, docket number L2491-20, or appellate court 827-22. The lie just got to stop. You just cannot continue to lie. I'm gonna put that to rest, but if they continue to challenge it that way, everybody's name who's on that, I'm gonna sue them. That's me, last one of the lawyers, Crooked Steve Phillip, and everyone else whose name appeared. And I'm not saying that, you know exactly, I do exactly what I said I'm gonna do. You cannot have a yes and a no answer in 2024 to a simple question. I need to go on a little further. Extremely important, we need to deal with this Palestinian situation. You cannot be a two-faced hypocrite. You can't come and say that children are dying every day in Palestine, and who are the victims at that time? The Arabs are victims. But in Darfur, the Arabs are the oppressor, and they're more ruthless than the white Jews. There are more children dead or being killed or being displaced in Darfur than in Palestine or anywhere. This is a fact. There's only 1.9 million Palestinians have been displaced. 4.8 million
Thank you, Phil.
And
Thank
therefore
you,
has been
Phil.
replaced.
Thank you, Phil.
Our next speaker, 5.17, Jeffrey. I don't think he's here. 5.18, Amory.
Good evening, and the best of this new year, and hopefully peace in this new year. I have 3 points that I'd like to go over tonight and stay within my time. Firstly and foremost, thank you so much, because this council has shown that you make a commitment to a true crisis intervention team program for mentally challenged and drug addicted individuals in our community, and you followed through on that. You want to build a gold standard program. We know that because you heard the 6 to 8 points that we've recited here. You've had meetings with us, and you kept your word, and you held an in-person meeting to start fashioning an RFP for a gold standard program. We had meeting 1, and you had community voices at the table. And I profoundly, on behalf of Jersey City Together and many other community members, we thank you for that. In that meeting, that was meeting 1, we all decided we have to schedule our next meeting, and we'd like to do that rather rapidly. So we're awaiting word about when the next meeting and the subsequent meetings to really bring the program to fruition. And my third point is we have the state of New Jersey with eyes on Jersey City. They didn't just pass an act this week allocating $12 million to 6 counties, and we're one of them. They passed the act that they call the Seabrooks, Washington Community-Led Crisis Response Act. They hear us, they see us, they have honored Drew Washington the way we have done at so many of these meetings. So we're grateful for the state, and our point to this council is there not some of that 2 million that will go to Hudson County that can augment what we want to do with our gold standard crisis intervention team program? Thank you so much. And the community for always showing up and being supportive of all these efforts.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.19, Chris. Is Chris here? Next, 5.20, Jordan. I believe he left. Next, 5.21, Emmanuel. Okay, thank you. Next, 5.22, Edward.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Edward Reap from Hoboken, though I wanted to talk about Jersey City today, so I'm coming over one town over to hopefully speak about something important because, we're all very interconnected here in Hudson County. And the topic I want to speak about is something that I think very few people wish to speak about because it was very traumatic and it's been a long time. And that's the whole situation that still is going on with the lingering policies and practices related to the COVID pandemic, which should be over right now. I think it's over as far as I think most people are concerned. COVID has evolved into what's essentially a common cold. Before COVID-19 happened, there were plenty of common colds that were caused by coronaviruses. Now COVID has evolved into being another one of those common colds caused by coronaviruses. And the problem with the situation we have is that there are certain pockets of our society in which some of the extra measures that were taken during the COVID pandemic refuse to go away. And as a conservative, I believe it's a responsibility and duty of government to tell private businesses and people what they can and can't do when in doing so they are in service of, something important for our social cohesion and our tradition. And the fact is that there are a lot of hospitals in the state of New Jersey and throughout the country that have brought back mask mandates. Before the COVID pandemic, we had some masking in hospitals, certainly surgery, certainly with certain diseases like tuberculosis, you had masking. It was a practice, but it wasn't a common widespread practice. But what we're seeing now is a fundamental change to how our society works, at least in the medical sphere, but it could spill over. There could be a slippery slope, but we're seeing a practice where hospitals have basically, in many cases, said that at least whether all the time or at least for a large portion of the winter, they're going to mandate that everyone wears masks. Now, a lot of people think this isn't a big deal, but I think that we should pause there because I think it can be a big deal. For many patients, being in a hospital is a very stressful situation, or could be scary or whatever. And in those cases, probably one of the big upsides they could have is a positive interaction with someone else, whether that's staff, another patient. And a lot of those human interactions would be premised on smiles, on seeing the human face, and you're probably making life very unpleasant for those folks. And I think we have to really consider that. So I think Jersey City should ban hospitals from being able to have mask mandates. I think it's a proper role of government to tell private businesses and organizations what they can and can't do, and we should tell them they can't do that.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker, Jermaine, I believe he left. Yep, next speaker, 5.24, Michelle.
Good evening. Last Tuesday, I live streamed the council's reorg meeting, and I felt for you, Councilman Rivera. I could relate to how you were feeling set aside by your colleagues because much of what you explained parallels Portsiders feeling snubbed and disappointed by the council's inaction for the last 13 months. Your most emotionally laden words like family, honor, being judged by your character, and word is word, bond is bond, are exactly what we too expected from our elected council members. Instead, we've been told by President Waterman that the council has done everything that it could possibly do to not only assist us Portsiders, but to also ensure the city's administration, including its Office of Landlord-Tenant Relations, was and is enforcing the laws that it is required to enforce. Respectfully, President Waterman, I disagree with you. The more accurate thing to have told us would have been that the council has done all it could as directed by Fulop and his corporation counsel. Over the last 13 months in this chamber, I've witnessed many citizen attempts at movements. There was the contingent to remove Councilwoman DeGeese after she committed a hit and run against a bicyclist while driving her SUV. There were the city's 9/11 emergency dispatch employees, Jersey City minority union workers displaced by non-city workers, and so on. While they've come and gone, we continue to defy the city's expectation that we too will lose steam and fade away. I'm here to tell you that if you believe we are like the others, you are gravely mistaken. Madam President, this is a new term for you. You recently announced your run for mayor. Stakes are higher now for you than ever before. And as you'll hear in speeches that follow, Portsiders are more serious than ever because the city's administrators continue to neglect their duties. Tonight, you'll hear more on how Peter Baker's Corporation Counsel continues to work the landlord-tenant office from behind to stall the enforcement of the Rent Leveling Board's determination. Bad behavior by the city's lawyers and Baker is rewarded with a nomination for a judgeship. Do you really want to be associated with something so shameful? Council members, the Faulkner Act requires that you investigate the multiple documented complaints that we've brought before you long before we initiated litigation in New Jersey Superior Court. Act like the separate arm of municipal government as you are charged to do, and stop allowing yourselves to be under the thumb of Fulop and his attorneys. There may still be time for you to get things right before we are forced to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Anna.
Oh, good evening, council. Thank you for having us. Earlier today, I believe Councilman Gilmore said a rule that just sounds good is worth nothing. We have to have enforcement. He was talking about bike lanes, but this absolutely applies to 260. What you have to understand is this is not just one building, and it's not just downtowners, and it's not just this small group of people behind me. It is a huge movement, not only within the building, but within all of Jersey City. When the Rent Leveling Board made their determination back in October, it was amazing. It was a sign that what we did was working. We saw where equity did not follow the law, and we really thought that justice was being served. We came up and thanked you, and it made a huge difference. You know, I've told you before, I'm a solo parent. I have multiple jobs, and dealing with rent that is so incredibly high, and sort of gambling on staying here because I assumed that the Rent Leveling Board determination would stand is a challenge. The Bureau isn't following the ordinance, and there should be an investigation as to why. The council here is the only entity with this Faulkner Act investigation responsibility. Likewise, the mayor has the ordinance enforcement responsibility, yet rent control continues to be not enforced even after our win. This too should be investigated. And I think, as you've heard, things that we've brought up are not just about rent control and not just about Portside. Earlier today, a gentleman was talking about how he got blocked by Fulop on Twitter. People laughed, but Mayor Fulop is doing this all the time about any complaints or any issues that that he doesn't agree with. He has a certain group of cronies who are allowed to comment on his Instagram, while other people are not allowed to, which obviously is not fair. So, you know, I know we've been here for the last 13 months, and I really hope that you continue to listen to us, because what we're saying is important, and we're not leaving, and we will prevail. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Lucy.
So I lived in the East Tower and West Tower, and I've been in Portside for my whole life. And my mom had to keep on. The rent wasn't a difference, and my mom had to spend a lot of money just for living in this house that only lives for rent. We will not stop arguing till we know that the rent will go low. And don't even I just am very annoyed of coming here because I have to keep on telling you that I just want this to stop. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know how anybody else is going to top that. Next, 5.27, Mark.
Oh, no chance on topping that. Hi. New topic today, not the one about security this time, but in October, the Rent Leveling Board determined that Portside had always been rent controlled and ruled for a 6-year rollback from the dates of the first petitions. That meant a rollback to 2016. On November the 27th, Jonah Noel wrote a letter representing the Office of Landlord-Tenant Relations, the Bureau, that attempted to enforce only a look back to 2018 because the Bureau is unable to count. After an extensive response from our legal team, we received a correction from Jonah Noel extending the look back to 2017 by miscounting yet again. Look, I'm happy to teach a remedial arithmetic class to the whole Bureau, focusing on counting as far as 6. I think they should be capable of that if we train them. Jonah Carol Noel was also the city employee who changed the official city form to remove requirements Equity Residential didn't meet related to our case. This was done on January the 3rd last year, not this year. Just after we found out the Portside Towers initial mortgage loan only had a 4-year duration, which would limit any exemption Portside had to September 1992, Carol modified the official city form to remove the mortgage reporting requirement. The Office of Landlord-Tenant Relations should be renamed to the Office of Landlord Support and Tenant Suppression. The Bureau is not following the ordinance, and there should be an investigation as to why. This council is the entity with the Faulkner Act investigation responsibility, and this council has a legal duty to investigate under that act. Perhaps you're so used to helping developers that you don't have any idea how to follow the law. Why not use your powers and investigate? What harm could it do to know the truth? Equity is flouting the law. When will Jersey City do something about it? A few days ago, on December the 28th, I received an offer for a new lease from Portside. I think was a 9% increase. The next day I talked to Equity, reminded them that this was a rent control building. They revised it to 6%, still far above any amount allowed. Equity is flouting the law. When will Jersey City do something about it? We're all tired of this, as I'm sure you are, and we just want what's rightfully ours. However, we're in this for the long haul. And we'll be here at each council meeting, and we'll take action in the courts. And if this isn't solved very soon, I doubt that many of you will have a chance in the 2025 local election, and there'll be no chance whatever in the race for mayor. Equity is flouting the law. When will Jersey City do something about it?
Our next speaker, 5.28, Sylvia.
Dear council members, I had a whole speech written and I had to throw it in the garbage because I read something that really upset me tonight. So sorry if it's not very well written. I will start by saying that Equity Residential, my landlord, its net worth is $23 billion. Tonight, I was informed that on January 5th, the Bureau of Rent Leveling sent a communication trying to give my landlord, Equity, a credit for an extra year beyond the Rent Leveling Board determination. Why? Like seriously, why is the Bureau helping our landlord, a corporation which 2022 revenue was above $2.7 billion, and allowing it to ignore the binding board determination? Do you know how many families won't be able to keep their home if they wait another year before enforcing rent control? Why is there so much effort to help a multi-billion dollars, I repeat, $23 billion, instead of your own constituents? Why are you not investigating? Each month, as a community, we are overcharged over $1 million. This is $1 million per month stolen from hardworking families who are just trying to have a decent living in Jersey City, to make a company of $23 billion. And yes, I'm going to keep repeating this, even richer. Don't you think they have enough money to start following the law just now? Really, what is going on? Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.29, Barbara.
Thank you. Council President Waterman, congratulations on your recent reinstatement. As a voting, tax-paying resident of your city, I have an urgent request, which is backed up by some facts. My urgent request, please investigate why 3 months after the Rent Leveling Board ruled in October 2023 that Portside Towers at 155 Washington Street is rent controlled. That very ruling is being ignored. My landlord, Equity Residential, is continuing to renew tenant leases beyond the legally permissible limit. Please investigate why that ruling which confirms the building is rent controlled, is not being enforced. Here are the facts that back up this urgent request. Fact. Leading up to the October 2023, the tenants of Portside Towers spent more than a year pleading with the City Council to uphold the laws of Jersey City, specifically Ordinance 260, no filing, no exemption from rent control. Fact. The City Council failed to act. Fact. In our desperate attempt to get some Jersey City official to uphold the city's laws, Portside Towers residents took our pleas to the Rent Leveling Board. Fact. Rent Leveling Board in October 2023 ruled that 155 Washington is indeed rent controlled. Fact. The ruling that is now 3 months old is being ignored by Jersey City officials. 3 months after the ruling, the city is still failing to enforce it. Fact. I am asking the City Council to investigate why the Rent Leveling Board ruling is not being enforced. Fact. I am asking the City Council to bear in mind its responsibility to the voters of this city, many of whom are renters, not landlords. Fact. I am asking the City Council to bear in mind the Faulkner Act. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.30, Jessica. Not here. Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.31, Suzanne. Not here. Okay. Next, 5.32, Carol.
Good evening, Council. I'm feeling frustrated with the city, as I'm sure some of you may also feel frustrated with us. I want to believe that each of you occupies your position out of a genuine desire to contribute to the well-being of the people of Jersey City and to champion what is lawful and simply right. I have to believe that, otherwise I can't imagine that this is all a pleasant experience listening to the myriad challenges, complaints, gripes, and concerns of our community. I understand that getting things right might not happen on the first attempt. We all learn and grow through each experience. I recall one of the city's lawyers after a victory at the Rent Leveling Board saying, quote, "We've never done this before," unquote. While concerning, there's a first time for everything, and I can appreciate the openness to new challenges and working as a team to solve them. But asking the city to uphold the law is not something I thought we'd have to ask for. It concerns me that the city consistently supports our landlords in defiance of the law. The board ruled for a 6-year look back from the dates of the first petitions, yet on November 27, 2023, the Bureau attempted to enforce only a look back to 2018. After an extensive response from our legal team, we received an updated extension to 2017, which is still incorrect. More concerning is the Bureau's attempt to give equity credit for the rent rolls never deemed filed. This is not in accordance with the ordinance and enables the extraction of maximum additional illegal rents from Portside Tower tenants. It raises serious questions about the Bureau's adherence to the law, warranting an investigation, which brings me to another crucial point. The council, vested with the Faulkner Act investigation responsibilities, must investigate the Bureau's actions. Likewise, the mayor, who is responsible for ordinance enforcement, should investigate why rent control remains unenforced even after our win. We as a group are committed to our fight and remain undeterred. Legal actions are in progress, with each appearance here adding to the counts related to multiple legal issues, all captured on publicly available video. The absence of action cannot be overlooked, and we're committed to ensuring accountability. I implore the council to address these issues, uphold the law, and fulfill the responsibilities entrusted to you. Ignoring legal obligations is a grave oversight, and we will continue to follow through, holding those who choose to remain silent accountable. Thank you for your time, and let us collectively strive to build a city that does stand true to the principles of justice and fairness for all its residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.33, Joel.
Members of the City Council, Happy New Year. and I hope indeed it is a new year. More than a year ago, we asked for an investigation into the actions of the Office of Landlord-Tenant Relations, which, according to the Jersey City website, enforces the city's rent control ordinance. In particular, we were concerned that an office that had repeatedly informed residents of Jersey City that the Portside Tower apartments were subject to rent control. Yet in a written determination, that same office bent over backwards to find some murky way to exempt those same apartments from the city's rent control ordinance. Thus, we tenants have been subjected to illegal rent increases, and our only recourse was to appeal to the Rent Leveling Board. Step one, told one thing, official result, completely different. President Waterman, prior to the decision of the Rent Leveling Board, made it clear that she believed the board would get it right. Indeed, she invited us to come back to this body if they failed to do so. It looked like the city, through the Rent Leveling Board, did get it right. We were relieved when they issued its oral decision on October 19th that our homes were never exempt from the city's rent control ordinances. We came back to this body to express our relief with the board's oral decision, but we made it clear that we were watching to see what followed. What followed suggests that it may have been all a setup. The initial appearance of a win soon became murky. Corporation Counsel, the office that had been providing legal guidance to the landlord relations all along, transformed clear language in the RLB's oral decision and obfuscated the board's direction to the Office of Landlord-Tenant Relations. This obfuscation was apparent in their request for proofs issued by the hearing and landlord-tenant officer, Jonah Noel. What was a 6-year look back for damages based on illegal rents in 2016, based on legal rents in 2016, appears to be turning into a search for the illegal rents charged in 2018 as the base rent. Step two, told one thing, official result, completely different. That is what appears to be the city's modus operandi. Tell constituents, and even Councilman Rivera, one thing, but deliver something else completely different. Can we trust the council in the city to do the right thing? Apparently not. Therefore, I filed an action in lieu of prerogative writ to have the courts provide the oversight that this council has failed to. To say that I'm disappointed in this board in this body is a huge understatement. I have to thank you all for sharing your strong support for enforcing the laws earlier. You have a rent leveling office that is supposed to enforce the laws, and it fails repeatedly to do so. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.34, Judith.
Judith Fury Rogers, senior citizen, 100 Montgomery, apartment 3A. I predict in approximately 2 years, there will be multiple lawsuits, as well as Jersey City workers investigated. Again, but this time 100 Montgomery will be involved. What type of lawsuits? Wrongful death from mold exposure, harassment, tenants' right to funding, providing clean living environment, civil rights violations, and of course, illegal rent increase. Also misusing COVID funding, unlicensed workers, demolishing and rebuilding the new market renters units, cutting pipes and electrical wires, knocking down retaining walls. How? Why? I have complained publicly about my apartment 3A, black mold exposure, asbestos exposure, inspectors turning away from violations. I asked, cried, please help me as a senior citizen with severe asthma. Nothing. Thank you, Councilman Solomon, for trying to help me. In my opinion, there is major corruption between 100 Montgomery and Jersey City. It is so obvious. Why? Why would a 23-story, 308-unit apartment house hire a man with a van, plus or minus 5 workers to go into individual apartments using shopping carts to carry debris away? Why? By the way, the same group of workers is now installing the new vents. I'm sure at a great price. Why didn't Jersey City help me? As I was looking for help with 3A, I found the reason. I discovered, and my problem is no longer an issue to me. I discovered they are still affordable housing, not listed anywhere. The new tenants pay a little more, but they are affordable renters. 100 Montgomery is not listed on the Jersey City affordable housing site. There's no income requirements, no email. You must go in person. Why? Physical, only application in person. I will not rest until someone from the state investigates the 100 Montgomery discrimination against African Americans and Hispanics going into the affordable housing. New units, new image, new downtown image. They deciding who belongs. They cannot do that. 2024, it's not allowed.
Our next speaker, 5.35, Erin.
Good evening, council members. I'm Erin Kent. First of all, I want to let you know that Kevin wishes he could be here. He really misses you. And you know, I always like to start with a quote. A rule that sounds good is worth nothing. We have to enforce it. That is from Jersey City Council member Frank Gilmore. I'm sorry you weren't here before when somebody started with that and you walked right into it. I apologize. Just a little levity. But I'm not terribly good at math. I never have been. In fact, it was always my worst subject. But somehow now, far beyond my school years, I find myself constantly dealing with strange numbers, CPIs, rent control limits, lookbacks, etc. The plus side is I've realized that I do remember some of the basics. The negative, I've realized some of the other parties involved may need to go back to school. As we all know, the board ruled for a 6-year look back from the dates of the first petitions, which, as we all know, took place in 2022. 2022 minus 6 equals 2016. Even in Equity's federal complaint, they discussed the 2016 forward damage period. Yet on November 27th, 2023, the Office of Tenant Landlord Relations attempted to enforce only a look back to 2018 by counting it this way: year 1, 2023, year 2, 2022, and so on. After an extensive response from our legal team, we received a correction extending to 2017 by counting this way: year 1, 2022, which is when the first petition occurred, mind you, not 1 year rolled back. So year 2, 2021, year 3, 2020, and so on. 2022 minus 6 is 2016, not 2017. The math, as they say, isn't mathing. Someone in our group brought up a very good point. Everyone here at some point turned 1 year old, and they weren't 1 year old on the day they were born. It took 365 days. Okay, so let's do this again. Year 1 is 2021, a 365-day rollback, or period of 1 year from 2022. Year 2 is 2020, year 3, 2019, year 4, 2018, year 5, 2017, year 6, 2016. Some other math. We won in October, November, 527 illegal rent collections. December, 527 illegal rent collections. January, 527. That's 1,581 illegal collections. This year, there are over 40 illegal rent increases, some over 60%. We are overcharging the millions every month. I guess it goes to follow, if certain entities aren't following the law, then why should they follow the rules of math? Council members, I ask you to help us make this math make sense. On the most basic level, I don't want to think about this anymore. This math, though simple, makes my head hurt. I imagine hearing these speeches and pleas over and over again since 2022, and now entering into a third calendar year of 2024. Happy New Year, by the way, are likely hurting your head too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.36, Danilo.
Good evening. On October 11, 2023, the Rent Leveling Board voted unanimously to reject landlord's appeal of the Rent Regulations Officer determination that the property is subject to the Rent Control Ordinance. Notwithstanding the above, the city has been made aware the landlord continues to disregard the determination of the board.
Therefore, please accept this correspondence to the city's final notice to refrain from charging rent in excess of the amounts provided by the rent control ordinance. Failure to comply will result in the landlord being subject to fines as much as $660,000 if the landlord continues to operate as if it was exempt. Such action will be taken without further notice to the landlord. This letter that should have been what the Jersey City Rent Leveling Bureau should have written to Equity by now. But it is paraphrased a quote from the letter sent by Ramon E. Rivera, Board Counsel of Hoboken, on the Avalon matter. I'm asking you, President Waterman, where is such a letter from our city to Equity to enforce the Portside ruling? What is the City Corporation Council doing? In fact, where's Peter Baker? He's missing in action for at least the last 4 or 5 city council meetings. Why is Equity allowed to disregard the ruling? Especially in the light of what you, President Waterman, said when you introduced Congressman Andy Kim on January 5, you emphasized, quote, the need for people in government who really care about their communities. Do you really care? We know you don't have to answer. We also know you choose to answer when you see fit. Your silence speaks volumes. Thus, let me remind you once more that Jersey City is a Faulkner Act city. Therefore, we demand an investigation in the misconduct of the Rent Leveling Bureau and Mayor Fuller by not enforcing the ordinance. We also demand an investigation in landlord-tenant officer Noel, who apparently helps Equity to limit damages by giving credit to rent rolls that were never filed, by applying maximum potential increases without legal merit, and by altering official forms and removing reporting criteria. President Waterman, will you investigate? I take that as a yes? Okay, thank you. And just let me remind you, non-action really is not a solution. It's your legal responsibility to investigate.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Sonia.
Good evening. I'm Sonja Kirschner. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Next Monday, we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King. I've mentioned it here before. He became a role model of mine in 6th grade back in Germany when we read his famous speech, I Have a Dream, in English class. It was 1 year ago when I mentioned that. Since this date, in 1963, a lot has changed in the United States. Many things for the better. On the other hand, many things seem to go dramatically backwards. Just a few days ago, the news were full of a look back to the January 6 events of 2021. Another speech by Dr. King 5 years later in 1968 comes to mind. He famously said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice," at the National Cathedral, just 4 days before he was assassinated. Dr. King had to die for his belief in justice and equality. He could not watch his dream come true. We today know that it did come true, at least to some degree. We bow to him for his persistence in standing up over and over again for the rights of people and for making the universe bend. When we think about something that's bending, an involuntary, forceful, and unnatural movement comes to mind. A shelf giving in to a heavy load, a smith forming a hot iron, former corporate bosses bending backwards and out of accountability, even torture benches of the Middle Ages. I save you the details. The actual definition of to bend is to constrain or strain to tension by curving, to force from a proper shape, to force back on an original straight or even condition. Fourth, one side of the arc, we keep asking you till this day, who and what constrains you and forced you out of the proper shape of an elected representative who would naturally help their constituents? No answers. You stay in the weird, unnatural shape someone very powerful must have forced you into. Fourth, on the other side of the arc, we have been showing up in full force here. For almost 2 years, we've been offering you our help to get back into an original, straight, or even condition. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We know that justice will win. With us is national press that will reach over 1 million viewers in the next few days. The city's own rent leveling board, over 50 previous press coverages, the Faulkner Act, mayors of cities that you can actually walk to, a team of experts and lawyers, and much more. We are an immensely forceful team, but we have zero fun in making the universe bend. It is unnatural that we have to do so.
Thank
so
you.
do it.
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.38, Mariam.
My name is Mariam Kara, and I'm a Pakistani American Muslim and a Jersey City resident. I'm here in my personal capacity today to ask our city council members to reintroduce a ceasefire resolution. I want to thank Councilman Saleh, Gilmore, and Baggiano for supporting the initial resolution. But for the rest of you who did not, you have heard from countless Jersey City residents over the last 3 months, asking you to support a ceasefire resolution. You have a civic responsibility to answer our calls as elected officials. What we do in city councils and rooms like this across New Jersey and across the country will build a grassroots momentum that can change policy and save lives. There will come a point when it is too late to act, but it's not too late right now. This past Sunday, I woke up to the news that Palestinian journalist Wael Ehdadoud's eldest son, Hamza, was killed in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. In October, Wael lost his wife, 2 children, and grandson also to Israeli airstrikes. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken responded, quote, "I can't begin to imagine the horror that he's experienced, not once, but now twice," end quote. What happened on October 7th was horrific. I mourn the loss of all innocent Israeli civilian lives and condemn all attacks against civilians. I pray that the victims' family members find some peace and for the safe release and return of all the hostages. But today we are over 90 days into this war. Every day the current crisis in the Middle East continues is another day that poses an imminent threat to the lives of countless innocent Palestinian civilians and the remaining hostages. I've watched my Jewish, Palestinian, Arab, Christian, Muslim loved ones mourn the growing death toll in Gaza over the last 3 months. Journalist Hind shared on December 28th, quote, "I do not feel like this is going to end anymore. I feel that we are stuck, and the only way out is being killed by an Israeli warplane or an Israeli tank," end quote. Journalist Bisan shared on January 6th, quote, "My role and the role of the rest of the journalists in Gaza is to document our stories and the stories of our people. And your role is to put an end to this genocide. Do not despair. Be stronger and demand a ceasefire. You are our only hope," end quote. My New Year's resolution this year is to be brave, and I'm demanding it be yours as well. Please reintroduce a ceasefire resolution.
Thank you. Sean, before you call someone else, I want the law department to address their concerns because explain it to us, because the decision was made by the rent leveling board, the board, and what is the process after that? We need to know this now. Everyone needs to hear this.
Sure. Right now,
They think that we don't care, which is not true. So explain it to us now.
right now, after the board's decision, the Portside Equity matter is now the subject of 2 separate lawsuits. One was filed by Equity Residential in the federal court, and one has been filed by the tenants in state court. So it is active and pending litigation. We always advise the council to not comment publicly about active or pending litigation. If you have any questions about what is going on with the litigation, we can answer those questions offline. But as of right now, the board's decision, it's not stayed, it is active.
the building is subject to rent control. So if there are continuing issues, the tenant should file legal rent petitions. If they are continuing to get illegal rent petitions, they do have counsel. You can bring those issues to council as well. But there is pending litigation right now as to the board's decision as to whether or not, each side disagrees with a portion of it. But right now, the decision is not stayed, so it is active, and the Rent Leveling Bureau should be working towards actively getting the new rents calculated at any refunds. So
And how long could that take for them to get it calculated? Because the board has to get that calculated, correct? That you
Correct.
said?
Correct. It has to be calculated, and they are dealing with requests for certain documents and trying to come up with it as best as they can. It is complicated by the fact that there now is litigation pending from both sides. So we can update you. We can ask Director Richardson where the process is at and give you guys an update on that. But that should still be continuing those calculations while the litigation is pending.
So Brittany, let me ask
Michelle,
this, Brittany.
Michelle, don't yell out, okay?
Brittany,
All right?
let me ask you this. So all right, the litigation, appeals and all that is one thing. My concern is that we rendered a decision via the rent leveling board, right? And you're basically saying that that decision stands, correct?
Correct.
So how in the world can they be getting rent hikes 3 months after we rendered a decision?
And like I said, they should not be. The building is subject to rent control. So if something is above 4%, they need to file an illegal rent petition.
If it's above what percent you said?
4.
Okay, so wait. So they can receive a rent increase. That's what you're saying. But if it's above 4%, then something should be filed.
Correct, because the board's determination was that it's subject to rent control. So it can't be above anything that rent control would allow.
Now, when they file that paperwork, at some point, all of that have to be retroactive. At some point, if they're getting these illegal rent increases, at some point, they have to be able to recuperate that money after these petitions are filed.
Correct. That's part of the calculation.
My only concern is what happens if they get an increase they can't pay?
Well, they would have to seek counsel, file the illegal rent petition, seek counsel, and they have.
By then, they might not have nowhere to stay.
What happens to a regular landlord when they do like a rent hike and they do an illegal rent petition? What other enforcement mechanism outside of like a decision is there for the city to say, hey, you have to make sure that your rent is within the parameters of our, Chapter 260 rent control ordinance? Like what happens? I, as a landlord, I can increase the rent however much I want, and they file a legal rent petition, and then let's say the tenant wins, before the rent leveling board. Like what happens to me as an individual, like landlord?
Normally, it's just based on either the Bureau's decision or if it goes up to the board, they calculate if something was illegally charged, there's a refund, you have to pay it back, or if there's a capital improvement that, is.
What happens if I don't pay? What happens if I don't refund the money, or if I don't abide by the decision that the city has administered?
Not sure. I would have to ask and see what happens.
Yeah, let's
Because normally they follow up, or, if you're talking about special civil court, I'd have to look into it and see what would happen. But normally it's,
because I know we make these decisions, but, we're not dealing with a actor that's, doing things in good faith. And
I think what most prudent, since a lot of the council has questions, is have the law department put a memo together for you. That way you'll know the entire process through ordinance, state law, and various applications.
Awesome. Thank you.
But part of our concern is, Peter, they come to every council meeting, and I'm hearing what they're saying. And we did make a decision. They went through that process. So in their minds, they're thinking that we're not doing anything. But based on what you're telling me, that both parties filed a lawsuit. but that shouldn't stop the process of them receiving, I guess, a refund or calculations of what, is due to them since is now rent control. This is what I'm trying to understand here.
Yep, absolutely. And we can reach out to Director Richardson and see where they're at in the process.
Because my concern is that what authority can we take as a council at this point? Or there's no authority we could take because they're in the courts, because they have a lawyer too, correct?
Correct.
Have an attorney? Yes, they have an attorney, and I guess the landlord has an attorney.
They have several, yep.
So this is, also a battle in the courts also. I just want to make sure that we are doing what we supposed to do based on what this governing body should do. Because they saying we don't care, we don't do anything. And I know everybody on the council do care, and they do care about people a lot. So when they say that we don't care, no, when they say we don't care, you got to understand we're taking legal advice too, and they saying what we can and cannot do. Okay, that's why I'm having this open, so the public can hear exactly what's going on, because we are doing what we can do as a council. You keep saying there's more we can do, but I'm opening this up publicly so our corporate council can tell us publicly what this body can and cannot do. And based on what she's saying, that in the department right now, Director Richardson is doing the process of calculation or whatever, based on what I'm hearing.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, that's what she's saying. Now, they can't see it because of the 3-month gap. I know that's what they're saying, and they done calculated this. That's what they're saying. So I don't know what the holdup is. Okay, but I just think we need to get moving as much as possible. I know some of this is in the courts, and we don't have the authority over the courts like that to say what case is being heard. But I think what we should do on our end is get moving as quickly as possible with this situation.
Sure, absolutely. And we'll reach out to the director to reach out.
Please.
So I'm not sure if Mr. Richardson can have, because it's litigation, then can he have open dialogue with them because of this litigation?
Not at the moment. I mean, he can discuss with them anything in terms of the calculations, and back and forth. The office has had communication with their attorney about the calculations.
So
It's separate and apart.
I'm just confused. We have a law. The law has to be followed. If it's not followed, we can't do nothing, is basically what you're saying.
Well, we can't.
Can we-
It's on litigation.
Can we do something?
But the thing is, we've told them to go through the process and let the process play out. And then they've let the process play out. They won. And then now 90 days, forget the fact that they didn't receive back pay, but they're continue to see increase. That's what we have to be able to do something.
Based on what you said, Brittany, they could still increase their rent at least 4%. If it's over that, then it's more.
Correct. They need to
Then there
file
should
a
be
legal
problem.
rent
It's a
petition.
problem if it's more than 4%.
Correct. If they're not following it, they need to file an illegal rent petition again.
So my next question is, along with Councilman Saleh was asking, what are the ramifications as it relates to them continue to disobey the order? Is there fees attached to the retro pay? Is there something that will essentially deter bad landlords for acting in the manner in which they're acting? Because if it's like that, they'll just play the waiting game. They know they got the money to pay them back. Just play the waiting game.
There could be, and right now, since there is litigation pending, we're a little, I don't know what we can do, but we're going to look through what we can do and provide you a memo.
Yeah, there is a state consumer fraud statute that can basically, the landlord has to pay triple damages if they overcharge rent. And given there's an active ruling, it strikes me that the landlord is creating significant liability for itself. But to the points made by my colleagues, I do think that we should find how we can clearly state, right? The ruling is active. You've stated clearly, it's not stayed. If it's not stayed, we have someone just flagrantly violating the law in the city. So yes, there's active litigation, but there should be a clear role for the council to be able to say, follow the law. That's not litigation. That's just follow the law.
Right. And if that is happening, that information needs to be provided to the Rent Leveling Bureau so that they're aware of it. I know it's been said, but if they have documentation, if they have leases, if they have things like that, they need to file an illegal rent petition or go through their council that's had conversations again for many months on this so that they're aware.
Can we extend what we did for the Airbnb legislation, which is, we said that anyone that's in violation of it essentially couldn't avail themselves of any permits or the license to do the Airbnb until the matter was adjudicated. Can we extend it to other matters such as this where, Equity Residential can't avail themselves of a permit or any other city service until they've abided by the edict that was given?
Sure, we can look into it because anybody with outstanding violations or things like that can be prohibited from getting permits or.
Like we should extend the whole umbrella over
Sure.
for all of this.
So it's just safe to say that equity is just completely violating, everything.
There are 2 lawsuits pending, and all I can say is the Bureau is doing what it can. We'll get you an update.
Thank
All right, council. We're going to go back to our public speakers. We are at speaker number 5.39, and that would be Brian.
I apologize to you, Brian, taking up your time.
Evening, council. About a week ago, my 5-year-old son was struck by a hit-and-run driver just a few blocks from here. He was crossing the
Just
street.
bring the mic up a little bit to you. It's okay.
He was crossing the street in a crosswalk with the walk signal. The driver was making a left turn through the same crosswalk, hurrying to beat the oncoming traffic as the light changed. They struck him, knocking him to the pavement, and drove off. As a result, Jacob has a broken leg, several shattered teeth, and lots of scrapes and bruises. So why am I here? I feel compelled to speak because this could have happened to anyone, because it does happen too often, and because there are still more things that our city can do to help solve the problem of traffic violence. I could speak at length about the many incidents I've personally witnessed, but I think everyone here is already aware. The threat of traffic violence is a constant, inescapable burden in our city. We all feel it. So I'll get to the point. Council members, I urge you to prioritize further improvements to the design of our streets and the enforcement of our existing laws, as is the theme of the evening. Specifically, a simple change that would have helped my son would be giving the pedestrian crossing signal some lead time before the green light for vehicles. The city already uses this solution at some intersections, like along Columbus Drive, but not where he was struck. Why can't we have a leading pedestrian interval as the default throughout Jersey City? There are lots of other things we could do as well, but I trust that our council members are already aware and educated. And if not, I'm happy to speak for more than 3 minutes about all the things you can do for traffic calming. I also think that there is a place for further enforcement of our existing laws. I'm aware that asking for increased policing comes with a cost, and that our options for automated enforcement are restricted. So I would like to suggest some other creative solutions for enforcement. New York City allows the public to record idling vehicle violations and noise violations for businesses with compensation to the reporting individual for their efforts. Jersey City could consider doing similar, but for violations like parking in bike lanes, double parking, running red lights or stop signs, and so on. I also believe it's already possible for individuals to file summons in person at the police department for these sorts of violations, especially if they have video evidence. We could make such reporting be more simple and streamlined. Finally, I want to acknowledge and appreciate that our city has taken many steps to improve our streets. I have lived here since 2010, and there are many more miles of bike lanes, more one-way streets, and lots more daylighting of intersections. But we can still go further, and I hope to see further change. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.40, Emily. Emily here? No? Next, 5.41, Scott. Scott's not here. Next, 5.42, Jenny.
Good evening. My name is Jenny Brover. Thank you for your consideration. I would like to address a surge in anti-Semitism in Jersey City following the events of October 7th in Israel, the deadliest massacre of the Jewish people since the Holocaust. First, I want to clarify my intentions. I ultimately stand for peace in Israel and Palestine. I hold the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the immense loss of innocent Palestinian lives in my thoughts. At the same time, I won't tolerate rhetoric that solely blames Israel or scapegoats Jews without holding other nations or factions accountable. I won't downplay the existential threat to Israel from Hamas or from surrounding Arab nations. My intention tonight is to raise awareness about anti-Semitism and request action be taken. Discriminatory stickers are being plastered around the city, prompting Jewish community members to personally remove them. Given time constraints, I can't counter each sticker, but they incite violence with calls for intifada, promote dangerous stereotypes, and deny Jews' right to self-determination. Now here are some of the stickers. Israel buys American politicians. It is right to rebel. Israel, go to hell. Zionism is terrorism. Abolish Israel. Long live the Intifada. Israel equals imperialism, settler colonialism, racism, apartheid, ethnic cleansing, and land theft paid for by your tax dollars. Moreover, numerous Jewish local businesses have been attacked online. A female-owned business specializing in Jewish baked goods became the target of a boycott solely because the owner is Jewish. The council should take these incidents seriously. I suggest the following actionable steps. Number one, have a website or call center to report bias like anti-Semitic incidents. 2, delegate the removal of stickers and graffiti to the city. 3, hold businesses accountable for speech harming Jewish-owned businesses. 4, establish an ethics commission promoting unity among diverse groups, including Jewish and Muslim. 5, priority youth education as a means to combat discrimination and anti-Semitism. 6, the Jersey City Office of Diversity is aware of anti-Semitic incidents and includes Jewish and ally members. I'm Jewish and I'm here tonight to lend my support. I strongly believe in fostering unity between marginalized groups and avoiding divisiveness. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.43, Kathleen.
Hello, thank you, council members, for having me. My name is Kathleen O'Malley. I am a longtime resident of Jersey City and a member of the volunteer animal welfare community here in Jersey City. I'm here to talk about Resolution 24-031, asking that you please vote no on this resolution that would have Jersey City provide animal control and animal shelter services to the town of Guttenberg. The Jersey City Animal Shelter has been in operation for just a little more than a week, exactly 10 days. This is day 10. And it won't even be conducting regular business hours until January 15th. It's much too soon to know how well the new management will handle the influx and outcomes of animals from Jersey City alone. Our shelter has only 100 cages, and based on Liberty Humane's statistics, once the new shelter is fully up and running, we can expect about 200 intakes per month or about 2,500 per year just from Jersey City. Let's give the new management time to show their competence in striking the very tricky balance between intakes, adoptions, returns to owners, and setbacks such as ringworm outbreaks or handling hoarder situations before the city considers taking on animals from other municipalities. Thank you for your consideration.
Our next speaker, 5.44, Carol.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Carol McNichol, 20-year resident, homeowner in Jersey City. Yay. I started a nonprofit 20 years ago called Companion Animal Trust, and I committed myself to the last 20 years helping animals in Jersey City and the people who have pets and who also want to help the animals. So my legacy is long and full. So we got word that Resolution 24031 has been withdrawn. Can someone confirm that? No comment.
What was the number?
I'm sorry. 24031. It's the one that authorizes the city health department to share services with Guttenberg.
Nothing has been done with that yet.
Is it still on the agenda tonight?
It's still on the agenda.
And what will occur tonight with that? Vote?
So it's up for a vote
Okay, but you can still withdraw it if the council.
prior to them,
Okay,
prior
I
to the
get it.
council voting yes.
Okay, so let me proceed before my time runs out. Jesus. Okay. I'm also a member of a newly formed coalition called the Jersey City Animal Welfare Coalition. We're a group of likewise people who have nonprofits and support and rescue animals and cats and dogs and whatever. Our mission is to support the new shelter while educating the council and the community about what no kill is and how to achieve it. More to come on that. Regarding the resolution, animal welfare is not transactional. Everything about it should be focused on life saving. We need to think first, will this benefit the lost and homeless animals of Jersey City? So as taking on another shelter situation, taking in animals, will it benefit our animals? I think when you're thinking dollars and cents, that gets lost in the conversation. And that's why I'm here and I will always be here. We're going to move forward with this and support the shelter, but we have to be real. Part of the problem of that resolution would be, as Kathleen mentioned, the shelter has not been running long. We have no proof that the shelter manager is up to the task of running a no-kill shelter. I'll be honest. Okay. The shelter has a cage deficit with under 100 cages for cats and dogs, total combined. And I'll correct Kathleen. It's estimated 2,000. I'll start another time. Thank you. But you get the message, guys. I'll be in touch.
Okay, our next speaker, 5.45, Noreen.
Good evening. I'm also here to talk about animal welfare stuff in Jersey City. Basically, it's a three-part focus. One, a request for information about what's going on, what the new shelter, what their policies are, what their vision is. Because as a community active animalist, I've lived here 24 years. We got no information whatsoever. And people were relying on the internet and relying on Instagram to give us information about, were there dogs left? Were they going to be euthanized before the transition on January 1st? All this stuff. And everyone kept asking, and there were no straight answers. We're all on the same page. Everyone here wants to have vulnerable animals taken care of and stop animal abuse. So we all want to see success together, but the community needs a town hall so that we can hear who's in charge, what's their vision, what's the intake policy, is it a no-kill shelter? Is it a euthanize when necessary? We need to know what they're going to do, and we also need to know how they're going to effectuate this. Additionally, enforcement. We need enforcement of the current animal control laws because they're not being. And I've had friends contact me because the police won't take an animal control complaint when someone abandoned their dog, and Liberty Humane was giving it back without investigating. Liberty Humane lost their contract for a lot of reasons. But the goal for us here is that we don't repeat the same mistakes. And just like thoughts and prayers don't help gun violence, good intentions don't save animals. We need to have hard facts and based on what we know to be true in our area. And lastly, at some point, we need to look at one of the sources of this problem, and that is unregulated backyard breeding. I know for a fact that a lot of the dogs that end up in the shelters are dumped dogs. They're the mother dog who couldn't give any more litters. They're dogs that was given to somebody else and they don't like it and they dump it on the street. And the community's having to absorb all this. We want to partner with the shelter, but it cannot be the community's responsibility always to be trying to rehome. I donate a lot of money to a lot of organizations and I am actively involved in rehoming, but I want to have a partner in government. I don't want to have this just fall on the goodwill of citizens. And I know we all agree about this, but we need some clarity. And I think as a good, clean New Year movement, we have a town hall on animal control, what the vision is, how we can get involved and how we can volunteer. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.46, Albert.
Good evening, council members. I stand before you today with a heavy heart as we confront the troubling issue within our beloved Jersey City. It is the alarming rise of anti-Semitism. It is disheartening to witness prejudice and discrimination targeting a specific group of our fellow residents. Jersey City has thrived on its diversity, but recent incidents of anti-Semitism remind us that we must remain vigilant against hatred. We cannot allow our community to be tarnished by bigotry and intolerance. It is our collective responsibility to foster an environment where everyone feels safe, regardless of their background. Let us promote education, understanding, dialogue. By standing together against anti-Semitism, we can ensure that Jersey City remains a beacon of inclusivity, acceptance, and respect for all its residents. Together, we can build a community that celebrates diversity and rejects the darkness of prejudice. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker, 5.47, Ela.
Council members, I'm standing here before you because I'm experiencing continuous bigotry in our city, and I'd like your help in making it stop. Part of the reason I decided to move here 5 years ago is because the city is walkable, it's friendly, and it's the most diverse city in the country. It reminded me a lot of Tel Aviv, though if you could build a sandy beach, that would be a little bit better. But other than that, it's really the same. But the joy of the city is lost on me. Every time I walk down the street, I'm reminded that every culture is welcome in the most diverse city in the country, but mine. Every country in the world is somehow involved in some conflict, but in our city, there are hundreds on hundreds of stickers put out every day with messages like abolish Israel and globalize the Intifada. Just to be clear, these messages directly mean that me and my family back in Israel should be harmed. Abolish Israel is not just a benign saying, it's a call for action. The Intifada isn't just an uprising, it's an armed uprising against civilians, Jewish civilians. Even if that's not what the person who put them up meant, and I sincerely hope nobody meant that and they were just ignorant, it still means that to me and to my community. If hundreds of bigoted stickers were made about any other nationality, religion, or people, there would be an outrage. and you would do something about it. You would decry it. You would make sure city workers help take them down. You would do your best to identify where's the hate's coming from. So this is what I came here for today. I want to hear your voice. I want you to say this is unacceptable. It's bigotry. I want to see action. I want you to take down this, and I want help in working together to show that in spite of conflict anywhere, diversity means different people can coexist peacefully in this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.48, Ayla.
Hello again, Ayla Shermer, president of Bike JC. First, I want to sincerely thank all of you who voted for agenda item 4.3 earlier. This is a much needed change and represents great progress towards our city's collective street safety goals. But as the saying goes, progress is often 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And I feel that unfortunately rings true in this present moment. Jersey City is suffering from a pedestrian safety crisis, and specifically a hit and run crisis. Every few days, our street safety advocacy organizations are made aware of another hit and run in Jersey City. And these are just the ones we find out about. There are undoubtedly more. Just yesterday, we learned of a new hit and run that took place in the Heights, which resulted in 2 broken ribs, bruising, and lacerations. In 2023, there were nearly 3 times as many serious injury crashes in Jersey City than in 2022. Also, 100% of Jersey City pedestrian fatalities in 2023 occurred on city-controlled streets, not state or county roads over which the city has less control. These statistics are harrowing and are trending quickly in the very wrong direction. We must look inward to learn why these crashes are happening and take swift action to buck these distressing trends. It cannot go unsaid that traffic violence is gravely affecting our smallest and most vulnerable residents, our children. Earlier tonight, we heard from 2 different parents of small children who have become innocent victims in these terrible hit and run crashes. One 8 years old and one 5 years old. One life cut tragically and inexplicably short. Another life altered with physical and mental scars. These are kids. We should all take this extremely personally. I know I do. I want to sincerely thank both Jermaine and Brian for their courage to speak about how traffic violence has affected their families and for bringing human faces to what can otherwise be meaningless crash statistics. Last week's crash that sent 5-year-old Jacob to the hospital occurred just 2 blocks from where we all are tonight, at the corner of Grove and Grand Streets. What actions are we taking to redesign that intersection such that a crash never occurs there again? I assure you that the advocacy community has lots of great ideas. Let's start with hardening the intersection by converting the existing painted curb extensions to concrete curb extensions. Let's create a leading pedestrian interval that allows pedestrians to establish their presence in the crosswalk before vehicles can. Let's explore the broader issue of turnpike cut-through traffic via the terrible Jersey Ave Bridge, which dumps thousands of impatient drivers onto Grand Street. And the list goes on. Please talk to us. We're here to help. We can't do nothing. These are the most precious lives in our city, and we need to take action. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.49, Julia.
For many of the people in this room, the chaos of the ceasefire resolution went away after the vote. For everyone who joined me today and for the other people who are texting us while we're in the room, that was just the beginning. Every day we wake up to a constant barrage of harassment and anti-Semitism, and I'm here to ask you today, what are you going to do about it? We begged you not to bring forward a resolution and instead to work with us on how we can, together with the Muslim community, end hatred in our city. We wanted to bring forward a resolution that halts the fraction we are seeing between our communities that have lived side by side peacefully. And instead, that resolution was shoved forward at all costs despite our efforts to work on the language. We appreciate those who voted to abstain on the resolution, but I'm here honestly full of anger that you have remained silent at the consequences that you have caused to the Jewish community and the Pandora's box of hate that you have opened. Every day I walk to work and see stickers lining Newark Avenue calling for intifada, violence against Jews. I take my children to the park and there are stickers calling for the genocide of Jews. I go to dinner and I have to explain to my daughter, who just started to read, why all the stickers around us want to murder their family, why they want to murder my family. Every day, as an Israeli parent in this city, it has become a question of how to explain why people hate us and want to murder us because of who I am and where I come from. Every single day. So again, my question to you is, where are you on this issue? None of you have spoken up. None of you have even come close to saying this is unacceptable in our community. And I have to wonder, why are you so scared to speak out for Jews? Even tonight, I heard countless conspiracy theories, elders of Zion, that it's because of the Jews that there isn't affordable housing in the city. And you sit here and you listen to it like it's normal. I'm here to tell you that we are not the weak Jews of the 1930s, and I will not sit around and let my children grow up in a place where people openly hate us and it isn't checked. The Holocaust started with harassment and bullying of Jews. The Jews in this city and Jews now are not going to sit around and let it happen again. I won't be silent, and we will be here over and over and over until you do something about it.
Thank you.
And our last speaker, 5.50, Lorenzo.
Good evening, council, and Happy New Year to you. I first want to talk about an issue that has been plaguing the city for some time. Recently, I had to replace my shocks, my struts, my lower control arms, sway bar links, and the bushings on my vehicle. The reason for that is because of the condition of the roads in Jersey City. If you look at the work that they're doing currently right now on Ocean Avenue, they dug up the street in the middle of the street, but the way they put it back, it's not even. And they do that with a lot of projects, whether it's PSE&G or some of these other contractors, that needs to be addressed because it's a major, major problem. Martin Luther King Drive still hasn't been addressed. And I saw Councilman Gilmore's post about, the funding for that. There are potholes that literally your tire dip into and come out. That creates major problems, and that could also create accidents. I know this is not your jurisdiction, but you need to talk to the county about JFK Boulevard on the Greenville side near the church near the Bayonne border. Very bad. And we collect, you, the city, municipality, you collect $350 million, real dollars, from the property owners. Some of that, more of that, must go to fixing up the streets after public safety. And because that is a part of public safety. And can you not have construction during pickup and drop off during school? It is an absolute travesty that goes on in the streets when all these construction projects are going on, and all of them are not being posted. The last thing I want to say, and maybe I should have brought some of my parts. I was going to bring it up, but because of the construction, I didn't bring them. But I was going to show you the parts that were replaced. But I also want to speak against resolutions. Let's see, 24029, which is 1027, and 1028 related to the cannabis. As you know, cannabis places should not be near any schools, any daycare centers, any places of residence, or churches. And you need to really deal with that issue. I also want to say finally that the resolution you're doing is too late in terms of the funding for pre-K because people have already started laying people off since last year.
Thank you.
That's tied to the Biden money.
All right, council members, that concludes our public speaking portion. So with that being said, do we have it? Yes.
Before we go, Sean, in light of all the feedback we've been getting as it relates to this ten 1029, I do think we should hold off on it just to give ourselves a chance to open to see how our operation will be looking. I don't want to say I'm totally against it, but it was some great concerns raised. So I want a motion to table 1029 to the next meeting.
So, Councilman, I believe our Assistant Business Administrator is going to address the council.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're withdrawing a few things tonight. We're withdrawing 10.3, 10.5, and we're also going to recommend withdrawing 10.29. I know a couple of the council had questions about this. We just want to make sure you have time to get feedback on before you actually vote on it.
So that's going to, 1029 is going to be withdrawn, correct?
What numbers he said again? He said 3.
And so I'll give them again. It's 10.3, 10.5, and 10.29.
Okay.
All right? Okay. So council members, any questions or comments on
Oh,
petition?
hold on, Sean. Wait, so
Still conducting business.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're still conducting business. If you want to have conversations, if you can have them in the hallway, we greatly appreciate it. Just trying to be respectful of the rest of the meeting. Thank you. Yes, Councilman.
no, that was an ordinance. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay.
It was 3 point, 3.1. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments on petitions, communications 6.1 through 6.30? Hearing none, there are no officer communications. Any questions or comments on report of directors 8.1 through 8.4? Hearing none, on to our claims and addendum number 1. Again, I'll be taking a vote on the claims and addendum number 1. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Claims and addendum number 1 are approved unanimously 9-0. On to our resolutions. Okay, council members, I'm going to be taking a vote on items 10.1 through 10.14 with the exception of 10.3 and 10.5, which have been withdrawn. Councilperson Ridley.
Where are we going to, Sean?
10.1 through 10.14 with the exception of 10.3 and 5, which have been withdrawn.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
I just wanted to make a quick statement on the nominations to the MUA. So taxpayer dollars should never be used to grant outrageous, lavish, or illegal benefits. In all governments that tax and charge our residents must abide by the law, including the MUA. And I'm glad to say that in advance of tonight's meeting, we've secured written commitments from both the nominees before us that they're going to bring all MUA contracts in line with state laws and saving taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars. This is based on research that we conducted that identified specific contracts that were not in compliance with specific state statutes on sick and vacation day payouts that could cost the taxpayers, again, tens of thousands of dollars. And so I'm happy to vote to confirm both nominees, but we'll follow up in the coming months to ensure those contracts are formally amended. So with that, I vote aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Items 10.1 through 10.14, with the exception of 10.3 and 5, which have been withdrawn, are approved unanimously 9-0. On to our next set of resolutions, and that would be items 10.15 through 10.24. Again, that's 10.15 through 10.24. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Items 10.15 through 10.24 are approved unanimously, 9-0. And for the balance of our resolutions, items 10.25 through 10.30, with the exception of 10.29, which have been withdrawn. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajiano.
I just want to say something on 10.29. I love animals. I'm going to serve on the board as a member. I've been getting calls about Guttenberg. Guttenberg is going to pay the city $11,000 a year, and they're going to give us about 50 animals. I want all of the animals to be taken care of, and none will be euthanized. That was brought up tonight by some speaker. I know that Jersey City Animal Control under Director Flanagan will be taken care of. There's been a lot of information going around about this, a lot of false information, but we got to get this shelter going. We have to open it up and we have to take care of the animals. As I said, I'm an animal lover and I want to see this thing done properly. I'll vote aye. I'm going to abstain on 2029 because I think it should have been.
It was withdrawn, Councilperson Bajiano.
No, it's withdrawn, but I would have abstained on it. I mean, I would have voted for it.
Okay, so you're voting aye?
Yes.
Okay. Councilperson Saleh.
I want to agree with what Councilman Bogiano said in terms of the animal shelter that is being run by the city definitely cannot be a kill shelter. And we have to ensure that Jersey City has the capacity to take care of these animals, both short-term and long-term, and have a plan and make sure that these animals are not killed. Absolutely cannot happen. But I will vote aye, and will ask my council colleagues to think about proposing legislation to make sure Jersey City has no kill shelters. Aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Solomon.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. I can't hear you.
I'll abstain from 10.27 and 10.28.
Oh, that's right. The narcotics one. I screwed up.
Let's get to there, Councilman.
So just before Councilman Bajiano corrects himself, Council President Waterman, you're abstaining on 10.27, 10.28, and aye on all the rest, correct? Okay, Councilman Bajiano, I'll come back to
Voting
you.
no on 27 and 28.
So I just want to say the councilman was for pot before he was against it.
I also do want to,
Listen, I live
before we
people that you don't know what you're asking for.
before we adjourn, I'd like to
I got to recap the vote,
hold on.
if you don't mind, first,
Yep.
if Councilperson Saleh. So on items 10.25 and 10.26, they were approved unanimously 9-0. Item 10.27 is approved 7-1-1, with Councilperson Bajiano voting no and Council President Waterman abstaining. Item 10.28 is approved 7-1-1, with Councilperson Bajiano voting no and Council President Waterman abstaining. And item 10.29 was withdrawn. 10.30 is approved unanimously 9-0. Okay, Councilperson Saleh.
I want to say, I didn't want to leave without us mentioning the, allegations of anti-Semitism that have been happening around Jersey City. I want you to know that we do take it seriously, that every time that it is reported or put on social media, that we do send it to both the police and the director of the parks, James Jackson. And I want you to know that no matter what it is, there have been several incidents, both anti-Semitic and Islamophobic, and we don't stand for any of it. And we're going to make sure that, it gets removed with haste. And I don't know if you want to say anything, Councilman, or.
Just, I guess briefly, every time it is reported, it is immediately brought to the attention of city staff, and I can speak for myself, but I sure many of the colleagues, we have had conversations to make sure that any type of incident that's brought to our attention is investigated. And we've had both in the last couple of weeks Islamophobic and anti-Semitic incidents brought to our attention. And there is a lot of work that happens internally, and we're always happy to talk to folks about it too. And I would also say that just from a personal note, reaching out to me via email and phone and my office is a much better communication system than social media. We will do our best on social media, but we're not always on it. We're not always monitoring. So I just wanted to state that publicly for folks to know the best way to get in touch.
And we try not to amplify these voices because there have been, graffiti or stuff, especially at Van Vorst Park. And we're not trying to amplify any of these voices. We see it, we're reporting it, we're working with the authorities, and we don't stand for any defacing of public property. And with that, I motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn at 9:10 PM by Councilperson Saleh. May I have a second? Second by Council President Waterman. On the motion to adjourn at 9:10 PM, Councilperson Ridley, Councilperson Prinzary, Councilperson Baggiano, Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon, Councilperson Gilmore, Councilperson DeGise, Councilperson Rivera, and Council President Waterman. Motion carries 9-0 to adjourn at 9:10 PM. Thank you so much, everyone present and everyone watching at home. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work. Have a great night and stay safe as always.